Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
So then it sounds like the Patriots will have their choice of Will Campbell or Mason Graham.
Yeah, I mean that's where we're at, and I think that's what I'm trying to come to grips with.
Ev's in a bad place. Notifications come in, and there's Evan Lazar take on Will Campbell and what it means. And let me read that. I had like visions of him just in a dark room by himself.
It was raining.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
I can't talk now. I can't. I'm not ready. I can't do this.
Yeah, we had 2007 Super Bowl. He's got the Will Campbell arm.
I was worried about Evan.
To the Raiders, does he love Shedeur that much?
Shedeur?
Shedeur.
Oh, it's not Shedeur.
Shedeur.
Shedeur. Let's hear everyone's worst and best take they've had. My good takes are too long to list. So Matt Patricia would be fine as an offensive coordinator.
I'm still going to give you slack for that.
Why?
Because I don't think you really believed it.
No, I did. I honestly believe
Because
that.
I really don't think that you did.
Well, I'm telling you I did.
No, but I think you're being magnanimous.
No, I'm not. Of all the odd things that Fred and Paul have argued about, this almost argument with Paul saying Fred was right and Fred adamant that he was wrong is perhaps the most unexpected.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Thursday here at Gillette Stadium. That means the gang's all here. Alex is here, Deuce is here, Paul, Evan, I'm here, Matt's in the booth. And it's free agent season. And the silliness has started, huh?
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, it's in one way it's great because, you are seeing people become available who you didn't know would be a couple weeks ago, so that's great. But at the same time, the expectation from some people that the Patriots are going to sign every one of these people is just crazy.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
And it is, to me, it's encouraging that, there are players who are shaking loose, as it happens every year. Now, some of these guys are going to be re-signed by their own team, I'm sure. But, here we go. Let's go. The phones, I'm sure, are burning up in the football offices of Gillette Stadium.
It's when it gets interesting because you spend so much time talking about guys like T. Higgins ad nauseum. T. Higgins. And then you get to this point and some new guys become available and it gives you new stuff to talk about and to consider and, weighing what the Patriots need between reestablishing, I think, the wide receiver room, certainly something I think they should do. But, also just balancing how do you best spend money. I've always been a fan of the 26, 27-year-old free agency guys. So when we get into next week, I love those signings. There's a lot of what they did in 2021 where you're paying for guys coming off their first deal. You're investing in somebody that, still has a future with you. You can still really work with them for a while and not worry about them starting to fall off the cliff. So that's just where I'm at, trying to balance guys, young guys.
Does anyone agree with me that there might be more hope in this crop of free agents who are coming available to bolster the offensive and defensive line than wide receiver? Because everyone's focused on wide receiver.
I don't see a lot.
But there's some players, I think, like Ronnie Stanley, for example, who maybe you can
if he's available. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Like Deuce's thing, I agree with. I want, the 25, 26-year-old free agents. Those are generally the guys that don't hit the market. That's T. Higgins. Yeah. He's 25, and really, I mean, he's going to hit the market, but not really. He's going to be franchised, so you don't necessarily get him no strings attached just for money. So I think it's hard to get those guys. And when you sign those guys, you wonder about, well, why is the team letting them go? When they're in their prime like that, they don't want to give them a second contract. That's one of the things that Bill was sort of criticized about is drafting, because they went through a stretch where the Patriots weren't able to re-sign for whatever, it was like 5 draft classes worth of second contracts because there was no one really worthy of re-signing. In general terms, those, I agree with Mike, those are the sweet spots. Those are the guys because you can get them and they're still in their prime. But if they're available, there's something wrong with them.
Yeah. But we re-signed guys like James Sanders and Tully Bantacane, which,
But, that's not a major signing.
No, I'm saying.
You need
right.
depth players, too.
Right.
But I'm talking about
But the guys that were
Ronnie
good,
Stanley, you need Ronnie Stanley to be your left tackle.
Yeah.
Well, this is when you're going to get Ronnie Stanley, when he's 30, coming off multiple injuries, and I still don't really think he's going to be available. I think he's going to stay with Baltimore, but that's when you get him. So, yeah, you can have him, but his best days are behind him in general terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely league-wide is not viewed as a great free agency class this year. But I think that what we're seeing is that with all this cap space around the league, to Paul's point, teams are just resigning their great players, and these guys are never going to even come close to hitting the open.
Crosby's contract.
Yeah, a guy like Max Crosby,
Zach Bond, Saquon Barkley.
Right.
When you want guys to stay, you have the ability to have them stay.
There was a lot of re-upping in the last calendar year of guys that were set to be expiring contracts are extending with their teams because that's the way that the teams are spending the cap space. Instead of going shopping in March, they're just taking care of their own and doing it that way. So it's not looked at as a great free agency class this year. That doesn't include trade people, DK Metcalf.
Will it ever be again?
Right.
That's a good point, Fred.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
I like it. Maybe I'm alone, but does it ever feel like wide receivers just hold the league hostage, across the board? It's just, all right, DK's good. Now
his hatred for the position.
He's unhappy now.
Beautiful.
He wants out.
We got to get spiked hair look these
I don't know,
days.
it's a little short.
I like it. It's a little bit, spiky.
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I think I was exasperated by the wide receivers
talking
all
about
demanding
divas, and
more money.
You hate wide receivers.
Well, do you know what I mean?
I'm here for that hate. I love it.
Am I crazy?
They're the most
a little
diva
bit.
players.
They're
for
just
sure.
such divas, and
No doubt.
when we want one so bad, and for how long? Well, a couple years, then he's not going to be happy. He's going to want more money, or he's, and there's also just.
Or you could just go without.
Well,
and have no offense for 5 years.
But that's why, I get annoyed with everybody that gets released that was, caught more than 100 balls in a season. That everyone's like, oh, we got to get him. I long for developing our own guys who, and you always kind of, talked about Bill drafting guys that felt like they owed him something a little bit. I kind of like that a little bit. I want to develop these guys. I want to give this guy a mid-round chance and
do with that?
Let him work. You know what I'm saying. But it's just. In a way, it feels like high school a little bit, where that hot girl, she just broke up with her boyfriend. You could be in, and someone's like, she would never go to New England. She hates it there.
The problem here.
I never had that issue ever.
The problem here is, when is the last time that we've drafted a Justin Jefferson or a Jamar Chase, who's worthy of getting into that
Stanley
second
Morgan.
that huge second contract?
Literally never.
We haven't been given the opportunity to get a guy like that to now have to decide whether to give him a second contract, which I would assume you would.
Yeah, no,
and that's the problem. We haven't drafted well when it comes to that position.
I just love to get to that point where it's like, oh my God, we found the guy, we drafted him, and in 2 years the guy starts to be a pain in the ass, and everyone's like, why? We had our guy, and now he's, just pay him, or why doesn't he want to be here? Why does DK Metcalf not want to be in Seattle anymore? What happened? What's wrong with there now?
I don't know.
Contract.
They're
not close on the money, but
they're retooling everything, right?
But he is looking for his third contract,
second and a half, kind of.
So, and to Evan's point, he's looking to cash in, and they're saying, well, you're morphing over here to 1A or 2 behind Jackson Smith and Jigba. I would still consider him the 1.
Yeah.
Because I think that without him, things are different. Now, the volume guy is going to be JSN. Much like I would have considered Randy Moss the 1 of the 07 team, but Welker had the receptions.
Yeah.
140 whatever catches he had. Welker was or 125 catches. He was the most targeted guy, but Moss was the 1.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way, it works. And I think right now, Evan's right. Metcalf is going to look for that next contract, and they're going to be like, well, really, you're kind of a 2 now. You're not that guy. You're not that volume guy anymore.
Yeah.
So he wants out.
But I think you explained it perfectly, Paul, in terms of just the schematics of it. When you look at how teams play that Seattle offense, like everybody plays with a safety over the top of DK. Like you don't go into the game and not pay extra attention to him. So now the middle of the field for Jackson Smith and Jigba is just wide open for him to just have.
And he's good. I'm not saying he's
there.
just a product of Metcalf, but I think you're right.
But I think that's why, to Deuce's point, like that's why these guys are so valuable, is because it's the whole trickle down of, okay, we have to put our number one guy on DK, and then we have to put a safety over the top of his side of the field, and now the guys over here are all one-on-one in the entire game, and that's how you sort of have the proper hierarchy. And I think that's what everybody's so enthralled with all these receivers that become available, is having that coverage dictating Tuesday player. And if you don't have that guy, then it just makes it so much easier to defend the offense. And like the Patriots have just been in that spot really since Edelman started to fade. Like that, like really we've been waiting that long for it. So I can understand why everybody's clamoring for everyone. But to me, I feel like every single receiver that comes available that's over the age of 30 just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for where the Patriots are at. Like
I can understand
maybe
that.
as like plan B, C, D, if you don't get the guy, that's plan A. But, you're trying to get somebody in here that can grow with Drake May. And it's going to have a couple of years at least, a runway like Stephon Diggs with Josh Allen. You don't want this guy just to come in because he's a name, because Devontae Adams is a name.
No,
that
I agree.
You need to have somebody that's going to build here for a little while.
Well, let me jump on the other side of the street, though, for a second and just say, because I do think there's some value for, like, let's jumpstart this thing. Like, let's get a talent, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's my argument for, like, a Devontae Adams is, like, we got to get some energy going. We got to get something going now. Like, we can't necessarily wait for a third-round rookie to develop. And, all right, yeah, they were better this year, but they got the 5 wins or, something like that. Like, let's give an injection and really kind of find out what we need. I mean, like I said, I go back and forth. I just don't want to love any single receiver that comes available. Yep, him. Like, I try to have a little bit of nuance and understanding of who the guys actually are and how would they fit, rather than just anyone who's ever
I'm a little bit closer.
There's something. It's almost like our discussion about buying clothes, Paul. When the guys, the guys that become available, there's something irregular. There's like a stain somewhere, or the zipper doesn't work. They're not
the
perfect
Marshalls
clothing.
free agents.
The left pocket, you can't actually put anything in the pocket. It's stitched close.
There's a reason why they're available.
It's like, look, Mom, it's a Devontae Adams. She's like one pant's shorter than the other, Robbie.
Unless it's just
It's
a
actually
pure,
Davinci Adams.
unless it's just a pure I hate my team thing, and the player is great, but then what's the guarantee he's not going to hate you if you say
So I agree with you guys all around, and where I would slightly differ from Evan, they need a top dog, and the top dog can't be like 33 years old.
WR1, Paul.
I don't talk in those terms, as you know.
Okay.
Neither do other grown adults. But when you have that one guy that's sort of, as Evan explained with Metcalf, occupying the safety over the top and all the other stuff, X's and O's wise, that's when I want to fill in with a Lockett or a Kupp. I don't want to sign Tyler Lockett to a 3-year deal and say, there you go, Drake, we got your receiver. No, that's not enough. It's not nearly enough. But I like the profile of Lockett and Kupp in particular, those two guys, to fix that room.
Yeah.
To offer some maturity and professionalism to the wide receiver room that I think is lacking big time.
Yep.
I think there's some maturity there. But again, I'm not asking Cooper Kupp to win the Triple Crown like he did 3 or 4 years ago. I'm asking him to come in and catch 60 balls and be a mentor to these young guys and help them out. Well, I don't know who the answer is, because it was T. Higgins, and I don't really think there's anybody else that at that level is the guy that's really going to give the runway, as Evan said, with or maybe you said, with Steph Diggs and Josh Allen. That runway of 5 years, A.J. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that as the guy who's going to be with all the pressure on him.
Yeah, we were talking yesterday on Catch 22 about something that Vrabel said at the Combine, which is that a lot of the time you have to draft your own when it comes to this position, because they're not just walking down the street, I think is what he said, not just available. And with not really a consensus at the fourth overall pick, is Tet McMillan a real possibility there? Because that's your own guy. Like, to Deuce's point, like you might not be Jamar Chase in terms of the level of prospect, but that's your own guy that's going to be on a rookie contract that you're going to have 5 years of team control with, and you're not going to have to trade a boatload, to get him or pay him $30 million to get him or whatever, or outbid, 8 other teams in free agency to get him. So it's a little bit enticing to me to pivot to that now that we know Will Campbell has, T-Rex arms and Mason Graham's 295 pounds.
Still in a dark place.
It's not a bad idea to pivot to that because of the value of the player, and of the position that he plays. I'm just wondering if maybe they have to go that route again, because I don't know if they're going to be the belle of the ball to draw DK Metcalf. Like, he's going to want to go to Kansas City
Didn't
or
DK
Green
already
Bay or
say
whatever.
it's not a desirable place? Or am I?
That's what he said.
He said
Like last
Massachusetts.
month.
Massachusetts.
She would
Yeah.
never date you, bro.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah, but we could get him a
you
place in
guys have
Providence
some
or
some
Yeah,
something.
but if he
issues.
lives in Rhode Island, he's still employed in Massachusetts.
Yeah, I don't. This is my point. Like, we're all
DK, you would
clamoring for
love
that
Newport.
guy.
Well, plus
might
Seattle
not be
says
able to
they
get
want a
that
first
guy.
and a third for him, understanding they're not going to get a first and a third
Right.
for him. You're not just going to get him for nothing.
Right. And
They're
I
not
just
gonna
don't know
give
if
him
you're
away.
going to get
Right.
that guy yet. Like, I don't know if that guy wants to come here.
Yeah.
So you might have to draft your own guy and then develop
him
him.
to
But,
come
but
here.
let's just say somebody like Jamar Chase was available. In my opinion, the Patriots would have to do whatever it takes to get him here.
Right, but he does. A guy like Jamar Chase is in DK Metcalf. Similar,
But I don't
different
put them
level
in
of
the
players.
same- yeah.
No, totally different level of player. But like, they both need contracts, and they don't need to sign the contract with you. So if you're giving up a package of picks to go get that player, then there's nothing telling that player that you have to be here long term, and you're not going to make that trade without
but
that
usually,
assurance.
if that's the case, isn't that kind of ironed out before the transaction's made?
Right, but
you get
Brandon
gentleman's
Ayuk said,
agreement,
no thanks.
Brandon Ayuk wouldn't even pick up the phone.
Right. So
Okay, so that's different.
But what's convincing them to pick up the phone now? That
Oh, no, but I'm just saying, if you get to that point before he gets here, you have a deal.
Drake May
You
guy.
have the terms of a deal already in place.
Agreed.
You don't put yourself out there like that.
Agreed, but what happens? Like, I don't know if any of these guys. Like, I don't know if DK Metcalf is going to agree to an extension with the Patriots.
No, and you
Before
don't
the
do it
trade.
unless he does.
Right. So then you don't get DK.
Right. Right.
And he's a guy, like, why do you want to bring someone here that's publicly made comments that they're
Right.
not interested?
We
You
don't
know,
want us, we don't
like,
want
Well,
you.
listen.
even if you don't want to be here, I'd rather go with someone that doesn't want to be
Well-
here that hasn't said it publicly.
but here's
Mike
the thing.
takes it all very
No, and
personally.
that's-
I do,
That's
I
a
do.
valid point. 'Cause
I'd rather go to
there's risk
Cleveland.
there, but
Like,
in the past,
Well,
when
it's
you-
funny because,
when
like,
you-
why is Seattle better
No,
than
in the past, when the Patriots had a culture in place, a winning culture with
Yeah,
veterans
that
already
was the
there,
draw.
you could bring in a guy like Corey Dillon, who
Right.
was disgruntled, or Randy
Yep,
Moss,
Randy Moss.
who was disgruntled, and you knew that you'd be able to take care of that at least for a certain amount of time. But now that's not a given. That's not a given. We haven't established a locker room that can absorb that type of player.
Yeah.
At least that we know of.
I agree. That's what makes it harder.
Yeah.
Winning solves everything, and that's, I think, just
Well,
start
it's
to
back
get
to
back
like,
on
what-
that train.
But it's
and-
like the whole thing with Brandon Ayuk. I heard a little talk about this morning on my shows, Freddie.
Yeah.
So yeah, last year there was reports out there the Patriots had a very strong, aggressive offer. Some called it the best offer to Brandon Ayuk. They had a deal with San Francisco to bring him here. I think it was like
Second to fourth and
second,
Kendrick
fourth,
Bourne.
and Bourne.
Yeah.
And a contract that was going to be more lucrative than the one he ended up signing with San Francisco. And Ayuk was so not on board with that he wouldn't even talk to the Patriots. about it,
Literally.
right? So now a year goes by, and San Francisco has evidently given Ayuk permission to seek a trade, and I'm supposed to believe that I know I didn't pick up the phone last year to talk to. Is it just because it was Gerard Mayo? That's the magic? Like Gerard Mayo's gone, and that he
Right.
was Drake starting
had
at that
nothing
point?
to
I
do
don't
with Gerard
remember.
Mayo. Like he
No.
didn't. I'm sure he didn't really even know Gerard Mayo.
Yeah.
So like, unless you're telling me he has some relationship with Mike Vrabel,
It could be a West Coast thing. Who knows?
that's
said
more
it was-
likely, Fred.
Yeah,
That
right.
it's
The
something.
The
I
reports
don't
were that
wanna
it was
go
the
east.
quarterback.
Yeah.
It was the uncertainty in New England at quarterback, and
Drake hadn't played yet.
everybody is very high on Drake May. But I don't. It's not like he's going. A couple of other places that have been thrown out. It's not like he's going to Green Bay to play with a guy like Jordan Love, who is sort of a made man already, or one of those types of places.
I
Like
just think it's very far fetched to think that 10 months later, Ayuk's
Excited to come.
mentality is just completely changed. And Alex's point of you're chasing after these people that already told you no.
I know. Well,
now we're
again,
back. Now
we're back in my high school
We're back
thing.
to
No,
prom.
but it's
Yeah,
really
we're
like
back to
it's a
prom.
great
You wanna go out
dating
with me now?
analogy. No, it's a really good dating analogy. Like the relationship is controlled by the person who cares the least, always.
Wow.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's a very succinct way of putting it.
Cares the least.
I love it.
It's true.
Well, we had some dating talk earlier today in the video. I think that's where this is carrying over for. But that's a
Why?
sad
What
fact.
were you talking about?
Oh, just bad dates, sending SOS signals to
Having
friends
to
like
make
get
your
me out of
friends
this
call
date
you with fake
immediately.
emergencies
you know.
to
But it's
skedaddle out of a
it's so different
situation.
now. Like we had to
Yeah,
call.
I forgot my wallet, so sugar mama.
I kind of like that commercial.
Yeah, it's it's so different now for these poor guys. dating
Competitive
and
air drumming.
texts and swipe left and swipe right and all that stuff. Like that just didn't exist. Like you
So
thought
superficial.
you go
Well,
to
and
the
then
bar
there's,
and you
like,
meet
the
your
talking
soulmate. That's how it's
stage.
supposed to happen,
So much.
right?
It's like you
easier
go on
now.
like 4 dates and you're like, "Oh, are you dating?" And you're like, "No, we're talking." But it's like you're actively going on dates. Isn't that dating?
Talking.
Like,
I like that.
talking.
I get that
We're
from Will
talking.
every once in
We're
a while.
talking about dating.
Then when do you get to like we're going out? Are we going out? Are we going steady?
so what are we?
Yeah, it's complicated. We need rules.
Do we have to put labels on it?
Nobody wants that conversation.
No one wants labels.
Well, Danny Ainge tried to do it with Kyrie, and then
Jeremiah writes in about Joe Tooney, Patriots rejecting Kansas City's fourth for Tooney. I don't know. Did that happen?
No.
No. But are you surprised that the Patriots weren't in that thing to
I
get
mean,
Tooney?
No, I mean, I personally,
not.
I was just more surprised that Kansas City moved on. But I thought I had a great conversation with Paul yesterday about kind of similar to what happened with Tooney and Mason and with the Patriots.
It's
a handful of
amazing
years ago.
to me the similarities between what Kansas City is in the middle of and what the Patriots did. Like, just in general, like the win. It's easy to count the wins and the playoff wins and the Super Bowl appearances and all that stuff, and see that Kansas City is sort of halfway. But they do things very similar way. Just go back and look at it. They extended Shaq Mason to a big deal to play right guard. Then the next year they had to franchise Joe Tooney. So in order to do that and pay him, they had to then trade Shaq Mason. And it's exactly what just happened with the Chiefs. They signed Joe Tooney to a big free agent deal. Then they had to franchise Trey Smith. And in order to do that, they're now trading Joe Tooney.
Yeah.
It's exactly what happened with the Patriots. And frankly, I don't understand it. Like, we just spent 20 minutes talking about how the salary cap might make, as Fred said, free agency look a whole lot different. The landscape of free agency as we know it might change because there's ever-growing salary cap. And the best team in football over the last 5 years evidently can't rub two nickels together to pay two good offensive linemen. It's absurd.
Yeah.
It's absurd. They have plenty of room in the cap. It's all about money.
I would imagine they're going to like.
Well, it's money and value.
Ronnie
they just
Stanley.
don't think it's worth it.
Right, because they don't want to pay him.
Right.
Right,
They don't want to play that
They don't want to
player.
pay a guy who's arguably the best in the league at his position.
Well, maybe they don't think he is anymore. I don't know.
But he is. Like, I don't care. Like, they can tell you they don't think he's that good, but he is.
Okay.
Like, he is one of what, the 5 best guards in football? Is that too strong?
I don't know. I
love Joe Tooney.
I don't have my list of guards.
Yeah, no, I mean he's an All-Pro, but
I mean, you just got to say what it is. It's cheap.
right,
Like,
but
Clark Hunt is cheaping out.
I would assume that they would want to pay a tackle in free agency, and Patrick Mahomes is going to want a receiver as well. And so they're just allocating the resources in a different direction, and I commend him for it. I think it's exactly what Bill would have done.
Yep.
Like, guards not a position of value. We're not going to have $40 million tied up in guards. We're going to release this guy that's
Totally
getting a
agree.
little bit older, and
you
we're
have
going to keep the
and
younger
you have to be
guy.
content that you're not going to be as good.
Yeah, but
'Cause
I
that's
don't call
exactly
that,
what happened
but
with
I
the
don't
Patriots.
say that's being cheap, Paul.
Of course it's being cheap. You have the money to pay if you want it.
No, but they like
Like,
Evan
why
said,
can't you do
they're
everything Evan just
they
said?
have the money, but they're going to spend it elsewhere.
But they can spend more. They're choosing not to.
Well,
Everything Evan
we'll
just said,
see.
I totally
But-
agree with.
but
So
if
they should be looking for a better receiver and
if they-
stop doing this to
No,
Mahomes.
well,
A
that's what
better
I'm saying.
tackle.
If they end up breaking the bank for tackle and receiver and maybe something else, then
And having a lesser player play in another spot, I don't think that's right.
yeah, maybe they think they can.
They
get a-
created a hole.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
That's all I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
But it's so
you
much
can't-
easier to replace the guard. Like that,
Oh, no,
and,
no.
and they'll replace the guard.
it's a different fundamental argument. They should
Yeah.
have never put themselves in this. The Belichick should have never had Tooney and Mason among the top 5 highest paid players on his team. It's absurd. Again, like paying 2 guards that much money. And I would say the same thing with Kansas City. But you have 2 players playing at a high level.
Right, but
you have the money.
But they probably look at it though as like we'd rather have the tackle that's going to play at a high level.
But you can have both.
He's saying
they're
can get
choosing
everything.
not to.
I don't think that's true.
Of course you can.
Well, you can if
With-
you're willing to. If
with
you
the
have
salary
an
cap the way it
infinite
is.
amount of money, like if you,
And the Eagles do it.
their owner is.
The Chiefs
got
have
deep
opted not to.
pockets. Anthony writes in, you guys and everyone else, he says in parentheses, are mentioning DK Metcalf saying Mass isn't a desirable destination. Do we not remember when Juju hated the Patriots and the fans during his time in Pittsburgh? He was very public about it, yet he came here with no issue. Now, granted, Juju and DK were at 2 completely points of their careers. What is the lesson learned from this? Money talks.
I don't remember that with Juju, but I'll take your word
I
for
mean,
it.
everybody in Pittsburgh hated us.
Well,
But James Harrison came here.
But I don't remember him saying, I mean, I didn't say that he didn't say it. I don't remember him publicly saying, I hate Massachusetts.
No, the Patriots, he said.
Well, because he was on a rival team of the Patriots at the
Oh,
time.
Yeah,
that,
that's what I mean. James Harrison came here.
Yeah.
those 2 things aren't the same. This is why I said Massachusetts.
Yeah.
DK
He never
was,
said Massachusetts.
No, DK was specifically.
did.
DK.
Juju did not.
Yeah.
So in other words, I don't think DK is interested in. It has nothing to do with the Patriots.
Yeah, DK went as
It
far
has
as
to
to
do
No, he said it
say
was a
the
great
area
he
of
said
the
it's a
country.
great
You can't change
organization.
it.
It's not desirable to me.
Right. But you can't change that part of it.
Right.
Whereas Juju could say, "Yeah, it was sports hate.
Right.
Like, I'm on the
Exactly.
Steelers.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can. But
They're
I
2
can't
different
change
things.
that you're in the Northeast, and I don't want to go to the
Yeah,
Northeast
right.
because that's the way I look at what
It's
DK
like, I'd
said.
love to just live in Cleveland or Detroit. That would be great. Those are great places to live.
Why are those the options? Why couldn't it be he wants to go to like Miami or Tampa?
Well, I'm just pointing out
Tennessee.
some
Or
options
Arizona.
that are bad, Paul. That's my whole point. That's the point I'm making. Is
Well,
that
those
there are
teams
other
are
teams out
those
there.
teams are bad too, but they're in nice weather places, which is what I think
Oh,
he's
yeah.
probably
Or
getting.
tax-free.
No,
He's
I get it. They all want to go to Miami and go to that's
He's
fine.
he's
I
a Charger.
I just don't. I don't.
Do you hear the tone?
No, I do
I
because
get it. They all
stand
wanna
up
go
for
to
I
nice
stand up for this
places.
state. I stand
I
up
like
for
Paul.
this.
It's fiery today. I
I think
like
it's
it.
Oh, I have some things later.
Oh.
Yeah, this isn't fire yet. This is just like
Oh.
I
Wow.
The
Second
warm-up?
half of the show?
cheap
I'm afraid.
cheap/cap talk irritates me, as you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So that's one thing. I have some things later on about the wide receivers and the different things that are starting to crawl up.
Is this coming from a
My
place of
backside.
hunger? Is that
There's a lot of
Probably.
like straw man's arguments with these wide receivers right now that I'm hearing on his shows.
It really
that,
drives me
that
insane.
like when people are saying these things that like, oh, Debo Samuel like was out of shape and that's why the Patriots didn't want him. No,
That's not a straw man. That's what they were told.
who by whom?
There was like 3 exposés of combine tidbits over the weekend. One was Mass Live, one was the Herald.
And they said
And went,
Debo is too fat to play for the Patriots.
not a fit, out of shape. I don't know where I read
Who
it, but
said
I read it in one of those. Those things are really
Okay.
crawling up my
I
side.
didn't read that.
So let's just say he's not a fit, and forget about the fat thing. Let's just say he's not a fit. We'll
He's a
get to
little-
it
he's
now.
a
I'll get my fire out
Okay,
now.
all right, let's go.
Because I like this one in particular because I know how you feel, Fred,
Well, I
about,
love
about
Debo
the player.
Samuel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you don't like Debo Samuel right now because you think he's past his prime, that's where I would fall. I am
Yeah.
not upset whatsoever the Patriots
I
didn't
can
get
totally
because
see
I think
that.
he's done. What did the kids say?
Yeah.
He's cooked.
Washed.
He's cooked.
He's,
Cashed,
He's
washed.
cashed.
I didn't
Washed.
know cash. You're
Cash.
teaching me.
That's
All right. I kind of think that's true. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of wear and tear.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily be interested in getting him. However, his skill set is his skill set. I want to know what about Debo Samuel's skill set. A guy who can operate out of the backfield, run as a ball carrier, catches a ton of screens with yards after catch, is very hard to tackle, has the straight line speed still to make plays down the field, and is an incredible yak machine.
Right. He's a football
To
player.
the point in 2021, he was arguably the best player in football.
That's why I loved
okay?
him.
What about that skill set doesn't fit with what you're doing on offense?
a little bit of Jonnu Smith to him, where like you have to manufacture touches, right? Like you have to find ways to scheme him open.
You're saying he doesn't get open.
I'm telling you that you have to be creative with Debo. And he's not one of those guys that you are just going to put into an offense and say, you're the Z, and here's your route tree, and this is what you're going to do, and you're going to be great. Josh McDaniels' offense typically is not great with those types of players. And I think the one that we go back to all the time is Johnny Smith, who is not exactly the same one-for-one type of player, but again, you had to have like a creative plan of how exactly are we going to get this guy the ball. And 21, they kind of forced it, right? Like they kept on throwing him screens and things like that to just try to make it happen, and it just wasn't popping here in New England. Then he goes to Miami and has a huge year with the Dolphins last year because they're in this West Coast offense, and he's doing all these moving pockets and things like that, and it's just different. It's just a different type of offense. So I think with Debo there was some concern about that element, that giving Josh McDaniels another scheme touch player.
And I would argue you have a problem with your offense.
Yeah, if you can't take advantage of
If you can't take it, I'm not talking Jonnu Smith, who's a pimple on Debo Samuel's backside.
Yeah.
Okay? Debo Samuel in 2021 was one of the 3 best players in football.
Yeah.
If you can't fit him into your offense is the problem, not Debo Samuel.
Yeah.
And this is why, again, I wanted to do this with you, Fred, because I know what you think of Samuel.
He was my favorite player back
Again,
then.
I am not upset that they don't have Debo Samuel now. I think he's done. I think he'll still be productive. He can still have like probably some 800-yard seasons and be good. I think he'd be value add with the Patriots right now, but he's not primed to. I think his best days are behind him.
Do you like the move
and,
for
and
the?
when he
I'm
had
okay.
and when he had
I
that
like
best year,
for the
he was
Commanders
running the ball too.
Yeah, because I think that's a lot of the stuff that Washington does, a lot of RPOs, a lot of quick hits. I think that get the ball to that guy in space and he makes plays.
And you got Terry McLaurin already to.
But I don't like the idea of an offense that can't use a guy like that.
Yeah,
I hate
that.
that drives me
I
insane.
hate
I'm not
that.
saying they can't use that
I'm
guy.
not saying that
it's
you
just
were
that it's
saying.
not. No, I know, but I'm not like saying that line of thinking is that they couldn't use him. I just think that there's better guys that fit the offense better than that. And if you're going to pay, if that's going to be your splash and that's going to be your move, then you would like it to be a little bit better of a
Now,
fit.
on the other hand, like on the radio this morning on one of Paul's shows, I heard one of Evan's guys,
Mark
Evan's
Daniels-
guy on Paul's show.
Mark Daniels talking
okay.
about DK Metcalf and saying that he's not a fit. He may not be a fit in Josh McDaniels' offense because he's not a good route runner.
Well,
Now that's different.
This is all part of my thing.
No, but that's different. If you can't run good routes, I can understand that.
Not
if you're
me.
just a straight line guy.
You got problems. Your offense
Well,
is
that's-
flawed if it can't, sort of welcome different types of
No, I know,
players
but-
with different
but
skill sets.
I don't worry about that with DK because I think that they've had enough guys. Obviously like Randy Moss is like the apex of it, but like even Brandon Cooks, that they've used like that as a true deep threat that Josh McDaniels has worked with already. So I mean, he's not Randy Moss, but like, can he run similar routes to Randy Moss? And yeah,
I
absolutely.
think Randy Moss ran good routes.
I'm starting to figure out why they've had such a hard time finding wide receivers.
because they're too stuck in
Because
their
there's like 3 that check every box that they want.
right. They're too specific.
And
Yeah.
that's a problem. And
It
it's
could be.
why I kind of wanted to change.
It could be. It could be.
And as I
Maybe-
came up with yesterday, I came up with an Andyism on the fly by, by accident. I was like, until they change, things aren't going to change.
Right. Well, that's
And
true.
my brother goes, that's really deep.
But maybe Josh's year away and visiting different teams in the college, in college football maybe helps him. I don't know, but like I do think they need to be more.
But Evan's
flexible.
right. This is what you're hearing from a lot of these
Yeah.
guys. Like, this guy's not a fit because he's not a good route runner. This guy's not a fit because he doesn't work well in the system. This guy, it's like one excuse after another as to why. And again, I'm not advocating for any of these individuals. But none of these guys, all these guys that have had success in the NFL, none of these guys would work well in Josh McDaniels' offense.
Right, and how does he feel about the guys on the roster right now? Though all those guys do fit, or are there going to be
Right.
some moves coming up?
Evidently, Javon Baker is the
Yeah,
hidden
he's the
gem,
one,
according to all of the anonymous
I-
sources.
I think that's what's interesting to me over the next week and a half that's going to happen is, I don't know if anybody's going to leave, but how do they address that room? We've all been talking about it, that we feel like they need at least leadership, which isn't even one of these football traits that you're talking about, Paul, but what are the football traits of some of the guys that they do go and sign?
And I do believe some of these, I know they're all from unnamed sources and whatnot, but because I go back and I think when DK Metcalf was coming out, my buddy, Lombardi, trashed him
Keneal Harry.
and talked about how you're an idiot if you don't think Keneal Harry is a better player than DK Metcalf,
Right.
if you recall.
Yep.
Because Keneal can run all the route tree. And DK
Canning
Metcalf
was
can
good.
only run in a straight line.
Yeah.
2 left feet. DK coming out had the injuries. He had like a neck back, like Gronk, like college injury. And, but I mean, he was the best receiver in his class, like just off of the tape, but he had a lot of injury stuff. And then he showed up to his combine meetings without a shirt on, and that like rubbed some people the wrong way. And so there was some
wrong?
There was some things going on. Now, Pete Carroll loved it, clearly. Yeah.
To the point where people are saying he's probably going to go to the Raiders.
Yeah, Pete Carroll, I think, took his own shirt off to be on
In
the same
solidarity.
level as,
I remember
as
that.
DK. But
great.
yeah, I mean everyone overthought DK. And
Yeah. So the long story of this is for me is like I guess Mike, you're growing frustrated at like being held hostage by the wide receiver. I'm growing frustrated as like no one's good enough to play wide receiver for the Patriots.
Yeah.
Like I'm just getting sort of annoyed by that. Like why can't the Patriots have one of these shiny toys to play with?
I think, and I'd be surprised myself if Josh McDaniels isn't, becoming a little bit more flexible in who he wants, because now you have a different quarterback than you had in the past. Yeah. This is a guy who, you can do things with. He's going to throw off platform as the ball knowers would say.
That's a bigger part of my worry.
And not off, and extend plays. And so now you need guys who can adjust to that. And so I hope that McDaniels is taking, and I can't imagine he's not. He's a smart guy.
How much influence do you think the head coach has on that with Josh versus, Bill versus Vrabel in terms of this is what I want? Is it all just kind of Josh baking and saying this is how the offense is going to run, or is it, some of that dictated by the head coach Bill when he was here, Mike Vrabel now? I want these style of guys. These are, this is what I'm looking for. I know that's probably always a fluid conversation.
Well,
but I wonder where.
I would
where the
imagine,
lines are.
Vrabel's like, Josh, what are you thinking? And Josh gives him his plan, his blueprint, and he says, I agree with that. Or, I'm not sure about line 3 here.
Yeah.
I would imagine that's how it's working because Josh is the offensive expert.
Yeah.
No, about how that works, that dynamic.
I don't think that Josh has a ton of say in it, to be honest with you.
Saying what?
In personnel.
What about the
schematic direction of the offense?
The architecture of the offense.
I think it's his offense, but
so then he has to have input in the personnel.
I mean, he wasn't at the combine. He wasn't at the Senior Bowl.
It doesn't matter.
I just don't think that he's been too involved in all of this. I just don't. I'm not like. I don't know. I don't know for a fact. I don't think that that's how it's being run. I think that this is Vrabel's show, and I think that he has his types of players that they're going after. He's talked a lot about basically every single time somebody asks him about his ideal receiver, he describes A.J. Brown, right? Like a guy that has...
That's true.
It's got speed, contested catch ability, great after the catch with the ball in his hands. His prototypical wide receiver is A.J. Brown. So it's not one of these shifty slot receivers. It's not, a Wes Welker, Julian Edelman clone.
And I would worry that Josh would say, he doesn't work well in our offense.
Oh, I don't think that's the case.
He's not really, shifty. He's not overly versatile. Like, he's going to be downfield, outside. Like, so what?
I don't worry too much about that. Because Josh has done it with multiple types of receivers throughout his career. Like for every Wes Welker, he's had a Randy Moss. For every Randy Moss, he's had a Brandon Cooks. For every Brandon Cooks, he's had Devontae Adams. He's had Jacoby Myers playing the slot, who's a different type of player than Edelman and Welker were. Like they've done it with different types of receivers. So I'm not like overly concerned about all of that. I do think that when you're going to spend that kind of money, and I think this is something else that Vrabel said at the Combine as well, if you are going to pay a receiver $30 million a year, then he better fit your offense. Like, don't just pay a guy $30 million a year because he's a name that everybody recognizes.
Well, but going back to what Paul says, what you just said, if you're paying him $30 million, he better fit your offense. How about if you're paying him $30 million, you better make something work for him?
And how about when the guys are that good, to just use some of the names that Evan just pointed out, Randy Moss, Devontae Adams. I don't really care what their strengths and weaknesses are in terms of their skill set. They're so good, they're going to succeed no matter what. Devontae Adams still had 1,000 yards last year, and I know that part of that was because Aaron Rodgers was like making sure that he was getting it, but he still is that good that even on a crap team in a crap year, he's still going to produce.
Yep.
Jacoby Myers, that's exactly what they've always done. Those are the guys that have always been able to succeed. Like the little slot guys that,
But he's not little. He's
a slot guy. He's a
yeah, but he's
possession.
not a Welker slot.
He's not an explosive player.
No. I would say I would say he's much closer to Welker in Edelman and Amendola. He's not as shifty as those guys, but he's much closer to that than Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks was a much different player.
He's a down the field, get over.
But again, I'm going to give the credit for Brandon Cooks working to Brandon Cooks. He's worked everywhere.
Everywhere he goes, he gets 1,000 yards.
Mount Cooks.
He's up on top.
Yeah.
Flag
I'm
planted.
going to die on Mount
Flag
Cooks.
planted.
All right, Brandon from Lex Vegas, and he means Lexington, Mass. I don't know if that was the other.
No, I've only heard March Vegas.
Yeah.
No.
Did I miss something?
That doesn't
I
work.
thought
That
Shador
dog, that
to the
doesn't work,
Giants
dog.
was basically a lock. If that is true, and Cam Ward is also now considered a lock to go 1 or 2, then that would guarantee the Patriots either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter.
I haven't heard.
I haven't
don't
heard
think
Shador a
Shador's
lock to the Giants.
I've heard as many people say Shador out of the top 20 as
Yeah.
I've heard
Yeah.
people saying that he will go in the top 3.
There was a canoodling of
Canoodles.
sorts
Canoodles.
at the Shrine Bowl between Brian
Celebrate.
Dable and Shador Sanders and somebody caught it on iPhone video that went around during Shrine Bowl time where Brian Dable and Shador were chopping it up and seemed to be having a grand old time together. And so then some people took that and said Shador to the Giants. He also, there's something with like him and Malik Neighbors during the Heisman ceremony, like they like met up in New York or something like that at that point. So there's been some, the emailer is not totally out of left field. Like there's been some tea leaves to read about that, but recently I agree with Paul. It's some people think he's not even a first round pick, and then other people think that he's going 2 overall. It's like kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff
Yeah.
with him.
I would, if I had to bet now, I think he's going to go in the first round. Though I would say that's my
In the first round?
Yeah, he'll go in the
yeah,
first round.
I would probably guess first round, but I do not think he's going in the top 3.
Yeah. It would be great. Be great for the Patriots.
I don't think both of those guys are going in the top 3.
855-PATS-500 is the Patriots Unfiltered hotline.
Hotline.
Let's go to Deshaun in Virginia. What's up, Deshaun?
Hello, guys. How you guys doing?
Good.
I was kind of thinking, when it comes to draft philosophy, if they really consider trying to say hypothetically, if this stuff does work, if they get DK Metcalf or T. Higgins within the trade or whatever, and then I hear, of course, they're trying to target Harold, and they end up trying to use a 4th round pick or a 3rd round pick to get that player. So if everything works, that means that it would probably make a lot more sense for them to trade that number 4 pick, trade it down to accumulate more if everything works out within their favor. So I was trying to get those players. What do you guys think?
I agree 100% with everything he just said. I don't know what he just said. I couldn't really hear any of that.
Yeah, pump up the volume there, Matt. Yeah.
Okay. Can I repeat it real quick?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go over that again, Deshaun.
I was trying to follow you there.
What I'm saying is, say hypothetically, if this stuff does work, say they were able to get DK Metcalf,
Okay.
or T. Higgins within that trade. Say it was like 4, it was like a 2nd round pick. And I heard reports they're trying to get Harold from Tennessee.
Landry.
Harold Landry, yeah.
Yeah. So that means that if everything works out smoothly and they're able to get the guys they want to get as far as the free agency and also in doing trade, that means they want to trade that 4th pick down to accumulate more picks.
Well, I mean, when you start talking about trading the 4th down, now you're talking about guys who may or may not even make the team.
I think he's talking about the number
4th
4 overall.
Oh,
pick.
the 4th overall pick. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean,
Can't expect the 10th overall pick to make the team.
No, I mean, look, if you do really well in free agency, there is that temptation to yes trade that, but you have to have a partner to do that.
Yeah.
Who's going to want to trade up?
Yeah. I think you want to trade out of the 4th overall
Thanks
pick
to Sean.
regardless of what happens in free agency.
You want to, but can you?
I don't think but exactly. I mean, but the
And
thing
I don't
is
know
that
how
I
many-
don't think they are related.
And I don't know how many multiple
anyway.
picks you're stockpiling, depending on how far down you
Yeah.
go.
Because who are they trading up for? Who does
Right.
somebody absolutely have to have and go get?
The
Now-
only question is, I think with 4, and it's kind of contradictory to wanting the 2 quarterbacks to go in the top 3, but let's say Shador Sanders is still on the board at 4 overall, and somebody wants to get to the front of the line, and they don't want to wait and see if the Raiders are going to take him at 6.
Right.
So the Saints jump the Raiders from 4 to 9 to get Shador or whatever the case may be. to make that happen so that you don't lose your guy. I
but
think
I think
six is like kind
to
of
maximize it, the most picks that you could probably get would be if the 2 quarterbacks went in the top 3 and you just decided, okay, I can take Travis Hunter or I can get a stockpile of picks.
Yeah.
That's my choice.
Because somebody loves Travis
Because someone
Hunter.
is going to want Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter that much to be able to give you the picks that you want.
Yeah, it's like
now,
the
most
Will
people
Anderson
would say
trade.
no.
Yeah, it's like the Will Anderson trade from with the Texans a couple years ago that they just loved Will Anderson, so they traded up I think from 12 to back up into the top 5 to draft Will Anderson. I think they drafted Stroud and Anderson back to back. So
2 and 3, I
Yeah.
think, right?
Nate's in Connecticut. Hey, Nate.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so I had a couple questions about some free agents and stuff. So based on a couple of reports I heard from today and yesterday, Alex Austin and Christian Ellis are coming back
Yes.
on their tenders.
Well, I know Austin
two
is.
really solid
both
players
of them.
from the season, especially Alex Austin. He's been pretty great. He was pretty good in the Indianapolis game. And then I also had a question about Austin Hooper. He's been a really reliable tight end too, paired with Hunter Henry. He caught that 4th and 22 bomb from Drake May in Miami, which was pretty awesome. But would you like to sign him back, or would he be a good player to come back next year, or should we let him walk? And I also, my last question for you guys is, would you be opposed to drafting another running back to join the competition between Ramondre Stevenson and what's his name? Antonio Gibson?
Yeah, later in the draft,
because
sure.
Stevenson has had his fumble issues, and then Gibson has also had his issues. So it wouldn't be bad to have another running back in the competition. But, yeah, that's what I have for you guys. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Nate. Yeah,
Good call, Nate.
The running back's easy. Yeah, later in the draft, sure.
Good draft for
In
it.
terms of Austin Hooper, he's a free agent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a piece. Like
I thought
would
I
sign
think
him.
Nate's right. I
Yeah.
think he was a good, solid number 2, complement to Hunter Henry. I think you could probably do better, but at what cost? Do you want to? I sort of, Evan's still in this dark place about the draft.
Very dark.
Tyler Warren.
It's a,
Yeah.
this, this dark room I'm in.
Yeah.
Is he on? Is he on the table
Yeah.
for that first round pick?
How do you
Might
feel
be.
about Jaheim Bell as well, who was behind the scenes last
A
year?
little less
big
enthused
athletic
about
guy,
that.
Well,
but
yeah, I think you just
maybe
wonder
is
if, to give Hooper's spot to a guy you draft. It doesn't even have to be Tyler Warren. It's a great tight end class. You might be able to draft somebody on day 2.
Yep.
Mason Taylor, Terrence Ferguson, Harold Fannin, go right down the line. And you draft one of those guys, and now you have to give that guy reps because you just drafted him with a top 100 pick. So that probably knocks Hooper out. And the last
That'd
thing,
be interesting to see when the timing goes because
Yeah.
free agency obviously is before the draft.
yeah, and Hooper was a Van Pelt guy. I think that's important to mention as well, that he came here because he had been with Alex Van Pelt in Cleveland and in the system before. So he's not a Josh guy. So I don't know.
Doesn't fit well in Josh's system.
I didn't say that. I just said that
I'm taking a lot of shots at my boy Josh.
he literally
it's not right
came
I love
here
him so
for,
much.
for Alex Van Pelt.
No, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I totally.
Running backs, bring them.
Yeah, and in terms of Austin and Ellis, I mean, you need those guys too.
Alex Austin's an exclusive right free agent, so he had no options. Christian Ellis was a restricted free agent, so he really had no options.
Yeah.
And he was tendered at the lowest tender, I believe.
right of first refusal.
But you need to fill out your roster, and they're known.
And that does not guarantee that those guys will be on the roster.
No, I mean, of all those RFA and exclusive right free agents, I do like Alex Austin. Tough start to the year, couldn't separate from Marco Wilson, a lot of competition, but he's got okay size and another guy that I think you've invested a little bit in, and similar to like we said with Trey Jacobs as the tackle, is he the answer? Maybe not, but still somebody that you've invested in and I think deserves a chance to get through the offseason and see if they can make some strides within the system, see how they fit with Josh, all that stuff.
He's finished strong 2 years in a row, Alex Austin. He's had some rough patches in between, but 2 good, strong ends.
Justin's in Kansas City. Hey, Justin.
Oh, there's Eldred, too. Nice. I was wondering all that
Hey, guys.
He called yesterday. Right?
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, so something I kind of wanted you guys to analyze a little bit is the Browns situation is really interesting, right? So they're bottom 10 in cap space, and I don't think they necessarily get the big splash veteran quarterbacks because, like, they're just such in a bad place with cap space. And if you're going to sign Myles Garrett, you might need to explore the route of getting, like, a rookie quarterback. But, like, what do you guys kind of think of their situation?
I would say that they're the most likely team out of the top 3 to draft a quarterback. Justin's pretty much right, and they not only do they need to all that with the cap and everything, but they need to get something to distract from the Deshaun Watson debacle. Mm-hmm. Like in a young quarterback, like Cam Ward comes in and maybe impresses a little bit. That's a nice way to forget about that whole situation.
The deal with Watson is he's still on the team.
Yeah,
and even if they released him, they still get a huge cap hit.
Yeah, now I would think that they could Russell Wilson it and just release him anyways, like Denver did, and just for a year they're just kind of in a tough spot with it, and then it will go away. And then just like the Broncos did, you draft Bo Nix, you draft Cam Ward, and you have a quarterback that's affordable on the rookie contract for the year. So I think out of the Giants, Browns, Titans, they're the most likely quarterback team.
The Browns?
Yeah.
Thanks, Justin. Let's go to Christian in L.A. What's up, Christian?
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
Okay.
Great. Well, first, before I give my well-thought-out and scripted question here, as the caller last week alluded to, I would like to say the reason why I mentioned the tax brackets that were in the Palisades last week is because we were talking about exclusive clubs and things like that the Brady meetings and stuff were happening in. And I happen to live in a place where there is a tax bracket that those kind of people hang out in, which I've said several times that I know and have met. That's something that's put aside. I don't know why it touched the nerve, but there you go, gentlemen, if you're listening.
Okay.
I'm sorry if that
your voice over IP is not is very
just continuing the listener on listener crime.
Yeah, the connection is
I'm
tough.
here for it.
But keep going.
Well, anyway, my football question.
That's better.
And yes, I have thought about it before I called in, like I think most people should, because it makes for a decent question. If we can pick up Joey Bosa, which I believe we should send an airplane down to get him and just not let him get off the airplane without signing with us, and Chris Godwin, would you guys think it would be a reach to try to maybe find a trading partner to trade up to get Travis Hunter to round out our defense, or trade down and take someone like an Ashton Genty to make a splash, in the backfield?
Okay.
And I'll take it off air. Thanks.
So I guess your premise is that if you pick up Bosa and you pick up Godwin, you're addressing two needs, which is pressure on the quarterback and a wide receiver. And then you can afford to maybe give up some assets to get Travis Hunter. I guess is that what?
I love Christian, but
I don't like it.
You're gonna have to take away my shoelaces if that's the off season. Like that. There are two guys that are been injured and have some serious concerns about what's left in the tank. In Bosa's case,
I don't think Joey Bosa solves your pass rushing issue.
Yeah.
I think he's a good player, but he's almost never at 100%. And what do you have, like 5 sacks last year?
Yeah,
or something like that?
I don't.
9 seasons in.
Not a guy. He's 30 years old.
I mean, they got no bodies at the position, so I wouldn't just dismiss him completely. But I agree.
No,
with what
I wouldn't.
You're saying.
But that's
it's not the answer.
I would be
veteran
interested
minimum contract.
I'd be interested in Joey Bosa as one of those sort of mid-tiered, veteran stopgap kind of guys. Yeah, because I think he can play. Yeah. But I'm not signing Joey Bosa and saying my pass rush issues have been solved.
No,
he's not that player anymore, and he's never really been as productive as his brother. Nick has been the better player in San Francisco than Joey has.
Much better.
Yeah. Would you say he was at the level of guy went from Denver to Buffalo?
No.
Von
Miller? No.
No.
Never approached that.
Okay.
Von Miller was like
First
defensive
ballot
player
Hall
of the
of
year.
No,
kind of a
was,
player.
but at the time he went to Buffalo, where was he? Where is he?
Still
in his
better than
career?
this.
Still better than him? Okay. I'm just asking.
But
I have to bite my head off.
no, I mean Von Miller is a Hall of Fame caliber player.
Yeah.
I don't think Joey Bosa would sniff that.
Eldred's in North Carolina.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Eldred, what's
Am I being
up?
too hard on Joey Bosa?
No.
Okay.
Eldred.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
Hey.
How y'all doing?
Tom
All
Brady
right.
in the divisional round.
Hey,
That was funny,
y'all
that
sound
guy.
kind of off a little bit.
Sound off?
Yeah, for the phone situation.
Oh.
But I got a trade for you. shot it up yesterday. Me and Alex liked it, but I don't think Evan did.
Shocker.
But how about this?
Involve DK Metcalf, I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
I know my Eldred.
Trade for their 18 and they third to get DK.
So what are we trading?
We trade in our fourth. We get their 18th and they number 3 or they number 2 in DK.
We're getting.
So they're coming up to 4.
18, 2, and DK.
Yes.
For our
18,
fourth.
3 and DK.
I mean, I would do it, but that's a
for our
lot.
fourth.
I don't think you're going to get that much back. But
Why not? Because you're moving up to 4.
yeah,
And
no, I get it,
4
but
better than DK.
yeah, but DK you think is probably considered to be like a low first, high second value. So like they're kind of already giving
But they
you
got
the
him in the
second.
third. But they got him in the third in 19.
Yeah, it
I know,
doesn't-
but what is he now?
Yeah, I mean, he's
Or
a,
what has he
Vietnam.
become?
I understand that, but
Yeah.
okay.
Think
If
Tom
not
Brady
a
might
first,
have been
about a
worth a
first, that first and the 4 and DK. But like I said, you got to give us another pick besides just that 18 what you got. Because they're going to trade with the Rams for 23 and a wide receiver. I'd be damned if they want to come up 4 and do that one.
I know, but they're looking for a first and a third, right? That's at least what they said.
They've said that on the record that they're looking for that. I don't think that they have any chance of getting a first and a third.
I don't either.
But
No.
but that tells
I
me
don't
they're
think
not
so
going to
either,
give
but
them
they gonna
away.
be king.
Right. They're looking.
They'll just
Yeah.
keep them
Yeah.
rather than give them away.
I
if
think
they
they're
can't get
looking. I think that Bill Barnwell wrote in ESPN that like their metrics like think that like a low first, high second round pick would be like fair compensation for DK. So like you could put 38 on the table and maybe something else, for DK, 38 and mayie a mid round pick and like Kendrick Bourne, like basically the deal they were going to make for Brandon
Well, I
Ayuk
do that
last
with
year.
you then.
I
Yeah,
think
I'll do
that
that
that's
with you.
realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Eldred. Yeah.
I'm glad Eldred called in because when this DK stuff broke, he was the first person I thought.
Oh
about.
yeah, he called in to catch 22
He's just
yesterday.
in his truck. He's got like
Oh yeah.
trade diagrams up. He's like,
Yeah.
we're gonna make this happen finally.
Yeah.
All right. Lots of emails, calls coming in. We're going to get to more of them right after this.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
It's another edition of Pats from the Past, and we're pleased to be joined by the best tight end in franchise history. Paul, is it the best tight end in NFL history?
We're going to get to that later. I'm
Matt
going to
Smith
get that out of him
here,
later.
Paul Perillo here. He's number 87 on your scorecard, but number 1 in everybody's hearts, Rob Gronkowski.
Wow, what an introduction, guys. I appreciate that love.
Thank you for
and
joining
I
us.
played
Really
for the
appreciate
number
it.
one organization of all times as well, so it was a great matchup to have the number one tight end playing for the number one organization,
That's awesome.
baby. That's what's up.
Brian Hoyer comes here and does some stuff with us, and I was asking him. He told me he had you on as a guest the other day. And I said, Brian, let me ask you a question. Go back to the Pittsburgh game his rookie year. Was that Gronk's coming out party? He goes, that's a pretty good one. I mean, it was Sunday Night Football, right? 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns.
And, I mean, I think people saw that who covered the team or who was around the team, watched the team, knew that there was something. Did you feel like that night, like, I'm sort of putting the league on notice here. You're not saying that, I'm saying that, but watch out.
You know, that's a good point. It definitely was my coming out party to everyone that was a fan of the New England Patriots. But I can tell you this, the game before, which was my worst game of my career with the New England Patriots, that was my true coming out party. And I'll explain why. That was the first game that I truly was in the game plan every single play. And I was a big part of the game plan. And I absolutely dominated in the blocking scheme of that game. And I had a lot of great plays as well in the pass game. I think I had about 6 catches for about 80 yards as just a rookie. This was the game right before the Pittsburgh Steelers game. But here's the thing. I had a fumble on our own 2-yard line. I caught a little hook route, 5 yards, and then I saw the end zone about 4 more yards ahead of me, so I just tried, barreling through about 4 players. And let me tell you, it didn't work out, and they hit the ball out of my hand, and I fumbled it. And then I also had a fumble on the kickoff return. I was the wingman. I went to fair catch it. Sammy Morris was in the back, and then he thought I was going to fair catch it. So then he let it go. I let it go, and then it hit the ground, and the Cleveland Browns, picked up that fumble recovery right there on the kickoff return. So therefore, I was the reason for 2 turnovers. So when you're the reason for 2 turnovers,
Monday must have sucked.
Nothing else that you did in that game mattered, no matter how good you played. But let me tell you, besides those 2 turnovers, having that fumble on our going into the end zone on the 2-yard line and that fumble on the kickoff return, I had one of my best games as a rookie, but it was so overshadowed. So that's why I truly believe that was my breakout game. And also,
Really
I learned a lot as well because of those situations and because of those 2 plays. And therefore, I had the confidence actually going into the Pittsburgh game because I knew I played so well. It's just that I had those 2 mistakes.
Yep.
And I swear that's what led to the 3 touchdowns because I knew I could go out there and ball because of that Cleveland game. I just had to clean it up a little bit.
Matt, Cleveland game, you know what that was? Game with name, right? That was the Peyton Hillis game.
Yes, it was.
Oh, that's right.
That was
Me
the
and
Peyton
Gene.
Hillis game.
Was that me and Gene?
Yeah.
I think Colt McCoy was a rookie quarterback,
Yep.
and it was like the first time Tom
Yep.
lost to a rookie
Colt
quarterback
McCoy,
in a
yeah,
long time.
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, it was one of our 2 losses that year, actually. I think we ended up 14-2. We
Yes.
lost to the Browns. Yep.
That is accurate. I wanted to, like, getting back to that rookie year, you come in, Billy O is there, and, you and Aaron are both a huge part right away of the offense. There's 2 tight end stuff, and eventually Billy O starts that really up-tempo. I think that was 11, right? 2011, that up-tempo, really high-powered offense, fast tempo. What was it like to play in that scheme? It looked like you guys just couldn't be stopped.
Yeah, that scheme was called NASCAR.
NASCAR.
And it actually makes sense, NASCAR, because you're going so
I knew
fast.
there was a name for it, but I'm getting old.
I know. Hey, that happens to me all the time. And actually, I was talking to Julian Edelman, and he brought up NASCAR, and that's why I know that the term name is NASCAR, because he just brought it up to me a couple days ago. So now it's fresh in my mind, or else I would have been sitting here like, what's it called when you go really fast again? It's not the
turbo
NASCAR. 2-minute drill, but it's not the 2-minute
Right.
drill because we're 10 minutes into the second quarter. But it's NASCAR, and it makes total sense why it's called NASCAR. And you had all just one-word terms to know where you lined up, and you hurried up to the line of scrimmage, and you go. But what made it work is because all the players were on the same page. And when you have a guy like Tom Brady who's so efficient and so on top of it, he can manage. He can manage everyone on the field to where they need to be in such a short period of time. So then it's an advantage on the offensive side of the ball because the defense is still trying to get lined up and wonder where everyone is and who has who's covering who. So it kind of, dismantled the defense in a way, and then you take advantage of that and you just hit the open guy really quick. But NASCAR could have definitely not happened our rookie year, especially with the players that we had, myself, Aaron as well, and a couple other guys that were young, because we're still learning the ins and outs of the NFL. I was still struggling with the playbook, and that's actually why I truly didn't really play all the plays my rookie year. Like the first 8 games, I played like 20 plays only because those were the only 20 plays that they trusted in me that I knew, and all the other ones I was kind of messing up on. So if you don't have the trust of your teammates and coaches, they're not going to play you no matter how good you are. So the playbook was, a high difficulty skill. There's no doubt about that, especially for myself. So going into our second year is kind of when NASCAR got introduced. And that's when you kind of understand the playbook a lot better, and then you can handle the terms where just one word means the whole entire play, because then you understand the whole entire play already. Now you can handle just the one word and you know what to do. So when we put that in and implemented it, it was such an advantage, and we absolutely dominated teams because of it.
You talk about trust. How did you earn Tom's trust, Rob? There's a 8-9 year difference between you guys. He's smart enough to go, holy smokes, this kid catch radius. look at what he can do. This guy's going to be able to help me.
Yeah.
But the way that you earn the trust and your combination together, you're talking about one of the best quarterback receiver combinations, whether you're tight or whatever, in the history of the league. That just doesn't happen by chance. What went into that relationship where you became such a valued, like he knew we were going to be all the time. You knew the communication, whatever. It was something special that people haven't really seen a lot of.
It was a really, really special connection. Might possibly be one of the best connections
No
of
question.
all time. Possibly one of the best quarterback tight end connections of all time. And not just that, just ball passer to ball receiver.
Yep.
Just the aspect of the whole entire game. Not just one position, quarterback to a wide receiver, but just overall, just as a whole, it could have been one of the best connections. It's up there. I believe
No
it's up there,
question.
too. I mean, we've done some incredible things, but we had actually, you said 8 to 9 year age difference. It's actually a 12-year age difference. I
Yeah.
was 21 years old. He was 33 years old. I was still supposed to be a senior in college. He was just married, kids. I mean, we had two totally different lifestyles.
Yeah.
The age gap, was tremendous as well. So, but the thing is that we both wanted to be great. Obviously, we all knew Tom wanted to be great already, but as a rookie, I wanted to be great as well. And what got us on the same page, what built that chemistry, was the work that we put out on the practice field. And it wasn't just the practice field either, during the practice time. It was after practice as well. And I was just reminiscing with Brian Hoyer actually about it on his podcast the other day, is that Brian Hoyer and Tom would stay after practice my rookie season. It would just be myself. And I would be running an extra 15 to 20 different routes every single practice after practice, just so I can get on the same page as Tom and the quarterbacks, because they saw greatness in me. And when you see greatness in a player, Tom wanted to exploit that greatness and bring it out, and so that player could be as great as they possibly could be. And as a rookie, sometimes I didn't understand it. It's like, I just want to go home. I got to go out. I gotta go to this restaurant, meet this girl, meet this friend, meet my brother, meet my family, or whatever.
So he's got to be not busting your balls, but like, dude, I know you're 21, 22, 23. You've got greatness in you. You better get your ass in here tomorrow and get your head straight, because I'm counting on you and we're counting on you. Those words must have, like that, that's serious.
Yes, definitely serious, and that's basically is what happened. It was said in those terms, not exactly like that, but definitely in those terms. And we built that throughout time. It wasn't like, hey, just one night, Brady the Gronk, that they're on fire. That connection is unstoppable. It was built over a year. That trust was built over a year of practice and hard work, and it really built going into my second year. Yeah, we had some great times my rookie year. Those three touchdown game. In the playoffs, I had a couple catches as well. The game that we lost actually versus the Jets, which stunk. That was a bad exit my rookie year out of the playoffs, but it happens. But there's a couple other times end of my rookie season too where, he just didn't trust me yet either. I was on fire the week before, but as a rookie, then the next week would show up and I would be just totally dismantled and not doing what he wanted me to do.
Consistency.
The consistency. You're right. It was not there. And then going into my second year, everything was clicking a lot better. You get a little break from the game of football because you have the off season. You come back and just everything was firing. I totally understood what he wanted out of me. I totally understood what the coaches wanted out of me, and I totally understood where I wanted to go too. And I knew what I had to do to get to that level I wanted to be at. And boom, from there on out, going into my second season, all that hard work though that we did my rookie year finally paid off, and it all started clicking. It made so much sense why we were running all those extra routes, why he wanted me where he wanted me out on the field, because that's where he wanted to place the ball away from the defender, all that little detail and all that good stuff. So it took a good solid year to have that chemistry, and then from year on out, you just get smarter. You just build upon it, and build upon it. But that chemistry will always be there from there on.
And now, great moments in history.
How are we going to do this? Who's going to go first?
Well, I have it Mike, Alex, Evan, Paul, Fred.
All right.
on my
Mike,
list.
Alex, Evan,
Clockwise.
Paul, Fred.
Clockwise
Okay.
from Fred.
So how's that?
Okay.
Clockwise from
What's
Fred.
clockwise?
Mike,
The way-
Alex,
this way, right?
Evan,
It
Paul,
goes the way of a
Fred.
clock.
That was a shot.
I haven't.
Have you never?
I
you
use
haven't
my
looked
phone.
at an
Oh, you never
analog
done clock?
clock?
I don't know what that is.
Boomer, what's a
Hey,
clock?
hey, Boomer.
I look at my phone.
What's
What's
your
your
minute
clocks
hands,
are feng
Boomer?
shui in your apartment?
Hey.
That's another great moment from
All right, Patriots Unfiltered is sponsored by Massachusetts 250 campaign, commemorating a history of possibility. Plan your revolutionary weekend at massachusetts250.org. That's massachusetts250.org. Got a couple more of these I have to do. Don't know what to do without football Sunday? Spend the off-season building a better Easter brunch with Bob's Discount Furniture. Shop Bob's for the latest spring styles like Betty, a mid-century modern dining set available in 4 retro chic colors and featuring an extendable table that makes it easy to celebrate the season with the whole team. So gather around the table and score a style touchdown with Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. And one more, our friends at DraftKings. Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here. 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gaming resources. Phew. Okay, that should do me for the month, right? We're good? Paid some bills?
Good job, Freddie.
All right.
Says pause here.
Yeah. Well, I thought
Remember,
I did
only,
okay. It's
only
a lot.
gamble what you can afford to lose, Mike.
It's a lot.
I'm glad that that has been taken away from me. It's not even an option.
I'm with you.
Wow, were you
I'm
into?
glad.
Would you do it otherwise?
Would you do
you
that?
think?
No, only a little bit in the past of college football games where like I knew I was going to be in a place watching a certain game, and I would put a little like do a parlay, like nothing any crazy.
Years ago, man. when
This guy.
living on Comm in
Fred
the
had
men's
a guy.
club. We had a guy.
Fred had a guy.
We had a guy in
Joey the Nose.
Bring back cookies.
and on the
Bring back
corner
cookies.
across the street from us was Heartland Drugs. So our code name is Heartland. So when we would call in, be like, Heartland, we're going to do this, and so
No, I'm
and
glad
the
it's
guy
not
that
an
would pick up the money was a Boston fireman.
Oh, jeez.
Bookie's gonna be
What was his
so
name, Fred?
upset seeing how things are playing out. Like they've been criminalized
Oh, yeah.
for so long, and now it's just
Yeah.
celebrated.
That's a
People are
nice
really-
little.
It's the same
You
thing
can't
with
story
weed.
right there.
It is.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same.
That's
and
a good
those
movie.
people feel the same way. Those like old dealers and stuff.
Right.
It's-
That's a great
it's a
movie.
great comparison.
Like like the bookie, like now he's out of a job, right?
Yeah.
And he's like his
He's
life
gotta go
is
get a job at DraftKings, and
His
he's
life
like-
is over because like it's legal to gamble now, so there's no use for him anymore.
I mean,
They
there's
don't need
something
me
there.
anymore.
Yeah.
It's like
There's
an
something
entry level
there.
position at DraftKings.
Like
I'm
it's obviously like a
Let's
Jason
work on the
Bateman thing.
screenplay.
Like it's a comedy, you know. It's
Oh, yeah,
not-
yeah.
There you
Right.
go.
You're gonna
Just-
punch this up a little bit here.
Just wrote it.
He's like on job interviews.
Yeah. Jason Bateman's my number one.
Brett writes in,
Good
and
one.
he dares me in the subject line. Don't
I
dodge
dare
the
you.
question, Fred.
Dare you.
On Tuesday, the clip with Andy and the 1 pound burger. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the other voice was he who shall not be named, right? That is correct.
It was.
Like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, that's a name I haven't heard in a long, long time. I thought the people who ask who he is may be interested to know that they have now heard his voice. That's correct.
Yep.
That's correct.
Very perceptive.
He who shall not be named, and we shall not name him. Lots of emails, lots of calls.
Why don't you read some?
Let's get to the calls. David, I got to get my mouse right. David's in
David.
Florida. What's up, David?
David.
David.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Hi.
Hi. So, I feel like I'm the only one who has sort of like buyers beware feeling with guys like Brandon Ayuk and Chris Godwin. I'm kind of concerned about the injury. Do you think that Ayuk would be, if we were to trade for Ayuk, that he would be ready for training camp and even week 1?
Not
Doesn't seem
realistically.
like it. No.
I don't think he'd be ready for week 1. No.
I feel like it would be. I just feel like it would be a waste of giving up significant assets to get a guy who might not be the same after his injury. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
It's a fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that you probably are going to get him for less than what you would have gotten him last offseason because of
That's
the
what
injury.
you'd have to hope.
So you're kind of trading for him for 2026 almost in a way to hope that he gets it back for that year and you got him on for pennies on the dollar.
Especially that you're trading for the contract too. So you signed a big money long-term contract. So Evan's right. I think that the selling point for the Patriots would be, well, he's not worth that anymore right now because he's damaged goods. So to offset that, we're going to give you less than maybe we would have had to in the past.
Yeah.
That's what you'd have to hope.
And he's under contract, so it's a little different. Like, they could trade for him, and they don't need to get him to agree to an extension because he already signed the extension, so he's kind of trapped at that point.
Yep.
Not that that's what you want to do, but...
Do you think there's any lingering concerns for Godwin for his injury?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit, but not as not as much though.
Dislocated
it's
ankle.
a dislocated ankle.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's going to be as long term of a rehab for him. But yeah, I mean, it's 2 serious injuries within a couple of years for him.
Yeah, it depends on in the dislocation how
Yeah.
bad it was. You know, like was there ligament damage and that type of stuff.
Yep.
Thanks, David. We'll go down to New York. Scotty's there. Hey, Scotty.
Scotty doesn't.
Beat me up,
know.
Scotty.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey.
Good.
I just wanted to know, why is it being more or less dismissed, the idea of the Patriots taking Mason Graham at 4 overall? Is it more so like just because of Barmore and the big money, or it's just not really a position of need? But I look at it like we need more foundational pieces. This is a guy who had 3 years of really good production in the Big Ten, and I just don't understand why we don't see his name more tied in with the Patriots.
I don't dismiss it. Evan does.
He's not my guy.
I kind of dismiss it too, and I'm a defense guy. But I mean, you say you need a foundational piece. Do you think? Are you sure at 298 pounds he's going to be a foundational piece, or is he going to be, a really good rotational player? I mean, I think he's obviously talented. I question if he really is.
I think
a foundational guy.
I think he's a look at the tape guy. Look at what he did, against pretty good competition. Ish, especially in the biggest game.
Yeah, no, he played really well in a couple of their big games.
Yeah.
Ohio State national championship game 2 years ago. He's definitely in the conversation. I don't think
and
anybody
I
is
think that
dismissing him.
you get him in the NFL. Maybe he adds a few pounds. You don't want him to get too heavy because maybe he loses that quickness. But I think that I like him. I wouldn't be, distraught if they picked him at 4.
No, I don't think he's being dismissed at all. I think we talk about Mason Graham plenty. I
think he's definitely on the table.
Yeah, I just think that I personally just prefer other people, but that's not it's not because I think he's terrible. I just I don't really view interior defensive linemen as premium as left tackle or as a premium position like edge rusher would be. So I just look at it a little bit differently in terms of that. But
Can I raise a quick point? Am I still on?
Sure.
Yep.
With the Patriots, in playing in cold weather, playing in December and January, wouldn't a bigger player, an interior 3-down player, be a little bit more valuable in a cold playoff game in Buffalo or New England or Cincinnati or wherever than a white edge rusher on the outside?
No, I no.
Yeah, but Mason Graham isn't that kind of guy either.
I was going to say you would have neither because he's a smaller interior defender.
Yeah. You're talking like Godshaw.
There's loads of run production that he has on tape in a running conference in cold weather.
Yeah. I mean, look, I would love to sit here, Scotty, and say that I'm drafting a player because we're going to be playing in the AFC Championship game, and I have to get to the AFC Championship game first, right?
And I don't think that the weather has anything to do with the game plan, unless it's like we're talking snow, wind. Like when San Diego came in here last year, like how was the game plan when they threw it all over you?
I want to say I think their number one needs to be to protect May, but that's their number. That's A, B, and C right now, but. I was just wanted an explanation.
Give
Thank
May
you, guys.
time.
No, thanks, Scotty.
Scotty.
I don't mean to sound dismissive about Mason Graham if I am, because
Yes, you do.
he's on the table. It just wouldn't be the guy I would pick. That's all.
No, And that's why I'm intrigued by a guy like Michael Williams, who certainly has a ways to go, but I can sell myself on him being that foundational player. If it all works out, if he were to develop, the way that I think he could, he's got all the size, he's got, the explosiveness. I mean, he is a 3-down player potentially in the defensive front, which I don't know if Mason Graham would ever be that.
Yeah.
He could be
I
a
like
great
Mason
rotational
Graham.
piece, but
I just have reservations because I don't see the explosive athlete that, like the Donalds, the Joneses of the world, that play that spot are.
Right.
But I like the player. I think he's a really good player, and I think he's very much in play for that pick.
Yeah.
I don't think people have eliminated him for the number 4 pick.
Yeah, he's like a prime example of one of the guys, like when we try to project who they're going to take and what the big board stuff is, it's like you really have to think about it. Like, I know it's not my cup of tea, but is it potentially their cup of tea?
And you guys have watched him, Fred. I think you've watched him probably even more than me. I know that there's like a lot of penetration, but to me, he's more of like a technician. Like I've heard a lot about the wrestling stuff, like the leverage and that's great. But what happens when he gets against all guys that have that ability to go against them?
Yeah.
Like the Aaron Donalds and Joneses of the world, they can overpower you, they can run by you, and that's what makes them different. Warren said, that's what makes them different on the inside. Yeah. And I'm not saying that Mason Graham isn't that. That's not fair, because that's not fair to say, well, he's not as good as the very best players who've ever played that position.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm just like, that's what you need to be as the 4th overall pick.
I know, but again, there's nobody worth that except maybe Abdul Carter.
But I think Tyler Warren might be that kind of a tight end.
Yeah.
So that was the conversation I was going to have.
I don't think he's worth the 4th overall pick either, but I think that he is a generational kind of tight end.
Yeah, you've got to make a pick.
I just worry.
Got to make a pick.
Yeah.
When I'm if you're drafting 4th overall, you would just like the traits to be there to say that, to project a ceiling of this player as like an all-pro type of player. I think Mason Graham has a very, very good floor. Like, I don't think Mason Graham is going to totally flame out of the NFL. I just don't know if I see him being a top 5 player at his position.
Well, we're going to have to lower our expectation this year.
Possibly.
We're just going to have to, unless we have Abdul Carter or if you get Travis Hunter. I think he could be that kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, Paul's right. Like, the things that you hear about Mason Graham that he's good at, leverage, hand technique, motor, like, that's all great. It just, I don't know if that's great for 4th overall. Like, if you're taking that guy, in the top 15 of a draft, like, you're saying, okay, I'm going to get this is a football player. You turn on the tape and you love this guy when you watch him on film.
And I think he is that. He's good.
He's 100% that.
He is good.
Let's see.
I just don't want people to think that you and I are like, oh, this guy can't play. There's
No.
no business being drafted. No, he's really good. He's a good
Rodney's
player.
in Foxborough. I've been listening since 2011. Love all the new and past members of Patriots Unfiltered, but if there's one absence I feel most, it's Fred. Everything he brings is gold. The sneaky humor, the sniffs, the absurd name pronunciations. It's always almost agreed with his life takes. What belongs in an Italian sub, the right restaurants on the Cape, until now.
Oh.
Fred, the backwards hat take shook me. I'm 36, and when I wear a hat, it's almost always backwards. I respect your opinion so much that I actually started wondering, is it time to retire it? Yes, it is.
Yeah, you're too old for that.
Then Alex came through with the save. If I'm putting a hat on and caring about what anyone thinks, it's for someone like Alex, not Fred.
Yes.
So thank you, Alex, for making me feel like I'm not too old to keep rocking it. If anything, I'm wearing it with even more pride now.
You're welcome. And it's like I put it in the newsletter. You can't ask a fish
Email
how to
elite
catch a
potential
fish.
right there.
It's a good one.
That's a great email.
Well, why can you ask a crook how to catch a crook?
I think in general they do. The FBI does that all the time.
That's a good point, and I never really considered that. You kind of got me
The
stuck here.
FBI.
I mean, if a fish could talk, like, how would I catch you if I wanted to catch you?
Cybercrime, you know what they do? They go out and find the best hacker
Kind of
out
the
there,
premise
and
of
they
Silence of the Lambs.
Yep.
Well, yeah.
But listen, I
Gonna need you to listen.
I
Mike
still
said
have
that.
my opinion, but I listened. I did a poll.
I'm talking to the mic, Mike.
I was open-minded, and a lot of the women in our office said they actually think it's cool when guys wear their hats.
It was actually unanimous.
But all
Everyone
of
polled.
But the vast majority of that poll, they're all young.
They're all young. Yep.
36 is young.
36
I'm
isn't
30.
even- Oh, no. Alex and I are like,
it's
biological clock is
I think it's
ticking like
I think
this.
it's a psychological thing.
Men hit 30 and get better looking.
I know. I've heard a
For
lot.
like 20
last
years.
month. I've heard that.
I can tell you that didn't happen for me.
Still waiting.
Well,
I've heard that.
That's around the time I started to get a little thin in the back and a little big in the front.
I read what you wrote in the newsletter, and it made me think of there's like this guy who I think wrote this whole book called I don't know if it's like The Pickup Artist. I know that's a movie, but it's a book about like the science of trying to pick up women, and it's part of like you have to peacock, you have to have like wear something kind of flashy that stands out. And I was thinking with the hat, it's kind of that like instant signal of like I can just wear this. I don't really need it to shade sun out of my eyes.
that's the thing.
I'm just cool. I can
And
wear
it's
something.
kind of like there's an actual term called hat fishing.
He's also
Hat
with
fishing?
very
girls
much
and
into
guys.
the
Like
jazz hands.
say they're on like a dating profile and all their pictures, if he has a hat on, it's like, okay, these are great, but like there's that worry.
What's
happened?
under the hat?
What's under?
Hair?
Or what's not under the
My,
hat?
hair?
my uncle
And
is a
either
big
way, it's
backwards
fine.
guy.
But the hat
How old?
just it adds that little bit of mystery, and most guys look good in hats.
It's a whole
No,
psychological.
I said it the day that it came up that I've heard a million people agree 1,000% with Alex.
Yeah.
The backward hat thing is a thing.
I think you should start wearing a straw hat. You know those straw hats.
You should
that
just
used to wear?
go around
Like Nick
like
Saban?
a straw man.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference though if it's a fitted hat with no little peekaboo at their forehead, or do you want one with the clip that you get a little forehead clip?
Snapback.
I don't
Little
like
snapback?
a fitted hat backwards.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
Has to
We're
be a
drilling
snapback.
down
I
on
don't
it
know
now.
why,
Backwards?
or a baseball hat, like a standard dad baseball hat, or a snapback backwards.
So you need a
A
snap.
fitted hat, you have to wear
Yeah.
front facing.
We're getting to the bottom of it.
Okay.
huh?
Take notes,
I just think
boys.
once you get out of college, give it up.
dudes.
Give it up. Duct tape Sammy writes in from Pleasanton, California.
Yeah.
You been to
Yeah,
Pleasanton?
no, I don't think
Yeah.
so.
First of all, Deuce, don't ever wear an LA hat again. Appalling. Are we sure you skated at Holy Cross?
When did
When
you
did
do
I do
that?
Yeah, when
You
did
wore
you
an
do
LA
that?
hat?
I don't know. I mean, I have one LA hat. I lived there for 18 years. I thought I can at least
I
rock
don't know
an
if you
LA
know,
hat.
but Mike used to be in
I worked
Hollywood.
in the industry.
He's a.
What was I
Quentin
supporting the
Tarantino
fire
type.
department or something? I don't know.
I don't remember you
Evan,
wearing an LA
Dodgers
hat.
hat or something.
I do. I mean, I have an LA hat, a Dodgers hat, but I don't.
Boo.
Evan, no more lumberjack flannels during your analysis segments. Do you work for the Patriots or Husqvarna?
I don't know what Husqvarna is.
Well, you never mowed your lawn.
It's
so-
like a tool company. They make like lawnmowers and tractors and stuff.
It's like,
That
what is
checks
this?
out then.
That's why he doesn't.
What is this,
move
John?
fast.
Show me a John
I
Deere
mean, like
letter.
you could,
What is
right?
this?
Like you could have said like Toro, John Deere, like you go with like literally like the one. What is that?
I'm impressed
Like-
with how Fred pronounced it because I've always looked at that word. And
Like
never
that's
really
like saying,
had
oh,
to
what are
put
you,
it
a
out.
car? Are you
Husqvarna.
But that also tracks.
Well, that's
Obscure
funny
irony.
because like
I
a lot of
thought I
guys
know.
do wear
Machinery.
Carhartt now, especially in like
gotta
that,
take
those
that
blue
seriously.
collar
Oh yeah,
type.
oh yeah,
I don't
tools,
know. It sounded
can't.
man
a little
toys.
sus to me using
Man
that
toys.
one. I don't know. Is it German or something?
Fake
Trying to take
flexor
shots
in the
at-
flannel.
I think it's Swedish or something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes
Sus.
sense.
You like to have the
You already heard of it.
Makes sense.
Maybe
please
Fred.
stop using the word sus.
Maybe Fred
Bussin'.
can give you guys a credit at the pro shop for some fresh drip.
No, we don't need
I don't know
that.
where you caught me wearing my LA.
Second, football. Please help me understand why the general consensus of trading Milton in a couple of draft picks for Myles Garrett is so far-fetched. What is Garrett really worth from an asset standpoint?
By a couple of draft picks, you mean 4 in next year's one? Because now I'm in.
Yeah.
But because they're not giving. I mean, we talked about DK Metcalf and how they said a first and a third and whatever. Cleveland's not just going to give him away.
He says Garrett is turning 30. He wants out of Cleveland. The Browns need a quarterback prospect, and Milton is a better option than any quarterback in the 25 draft.
No, he's not.
With Drake entrenched at QB1, how much playing time is Milton ever going to see? The Patriots not only need to upgrade their pass rush, they're in desperate need of a high-profile player to help bring free agents to the team.
The notion that Joe Milton is the best quarterback in the 2025 draft is hilarious. Sorry, I don't mean to be
So-
disrespectful, but it's just.
I'm going to go down a dark road here that might not be happy, but like the whole idea of, with Drake entrenched as your quarterback, when is Joe Milton ever going to play? How many times did Drake start and finish last year? Like he got knocked
Didn't
out of
finish
2
twice
different
of them.
games.
Yeah.
And I'm not counting the last one.
Right.
I'm not,
help if
I'm
he
not
had an
counting the
offensive
last
line
one.
in front of him.
No, right. This is not a shot at Drake May.
Oh, okay.
It's like
Makes
why
it
are
going
we
to be under duress? It's like
why
our
are
one
we
good player, Paul.
No, my point is why are we just assuming our starting quarterback's going to play 17 games when he started 10 last year and didn't make it start to finish in 2 of them.
Right. And how many of you guys?
And I'm
feel,
not counting the last game, by the way, when he came out coach's decision.
I'm not even sure Joe Milton's the Patriots' backup quarterback. Like that's where I'm kind of questioning now.
I left that to Evan.
Is he good enough to? Are we okay with that?
I'm like, why are we just assuming that it's going to be 17 starts for Drake May?
Yeah, you're going to need somebody at some point, probably. Mike writes in the most Eric thing ever said by Evan. I don't know what Husqvarna is.
Again, like you could have picked a very well-known, like John Deere or Toro or like, and I would have been like, okay, I get the joke, but like you had to pick the random Swedish, lawnmower
I think John
company.
Deere would have been better for this audience. Anyway.
Yeah.
Gerald in Grimsby, following up on Alex's hat fishing. If a woman's online profile, she only has sunglasses on in every picture, run away.
Agree with that.
Like
that's a good take. Yeah, that's like, is that what it is for women? The hatfish, like you just see a woman with big sunglasses on. Does that make her more or less attractive?
So I don't know about the size of them, but I will say that there's an attractive quality of a woman in sunglasses.
Well, the Ray-Bans, in the summer with the Ray-Bans.
But they got the big ones and they cover like 3/4 of her face.
Well, not anymore. Little ones are back now.
Little
now
ones
it's
are
little
back.
ones.
Yeah.
I have other things like that, but I don't think it's good for
Celine made like a thin sunglass that everyone's duping and copying.
I got a question.
So
What about visors and bucket hats, where enhancing hotness, not enhancing ugliness, like? Because Andy certainly is a visor guy.
Are you worried?
No, I'm just asking.
Are you expecting to be back on the market?
If you're not a professional golfer, I don't see a single reason ever for you to wear a visor.
Andy.
I don't see a reason for anyone, honestly, even if you are a golfer, to wear a visor. Bucket hat, it's kind of juvenile. That's the one I would say leave in college.
No.
But what about the visor? Like if you're a coach though, like Josh rocks the visor and he's a football
you need
coach.
a breeze.
Josh would probably look better in a baseball hat.
Yeah, I don't get the visor
do
thing
your
myself.
thing, but
Andy loves him
It's
some
not
visors.
Why does he love him visors? What is it about
I don't
visors?
think that he can find enough hats that fit his enormous squash.
Yeah, I hear that.
And I'll tell you, even on the visors, every last
Velcro,
bit of that
those
Velcro
Velcros.
is stressed to the max.
well, the visors, and this isn't even a shot at Andy, even if it like applies, but it just gives like I did roids in the '90s, and I wear like I don't know why. Like your name is maybe Rex or something.
That's
to that
not
extent.
a shot at Andy.
Well, no, like I felt I don't really know Andy that well, so I don't know enough about him to
Seems like you know
correlate
him
pretty well.
But from what I know about you guys, that's just my take, and it happens to.
Fred's being awful quiet over there.
He'll be crying himself to sleep tonight on his huge pillow.
There wasn't enough weight in the in our gym here at Gillette Stadium for Andy, right? Like
Fact.
Really?
he needs to throw. He
Fact.
needs
Is that
more
a
weight.
complaint?
Particularly with the dumbbells.
Yeah.
Well,
it only goes
going
up
back
what,
to
like-
that clip that had Andy and who shall not be named talking about the 1 pound burger.
Hans and Franz.
The lead is buried. The two of them were in the gym before, like those two meatheads in the gym.
Really?
He used to not be named. He used to do the leg press. Every 45 plate he could find, he put on this. Plus, like the 5-gallon buckets filled with cement on chains hanging on, and like anything he could find. People, and he would be lifting like 1,500 pounds on this thing. And of course Andy would like pretend he's not paying attention, but he's looking out of the side of his eye like, I wish that was me. The two of them.
Hans and Franz.
Andy, he gives me the vibes of a big dumbbell flies guy. Like got the dumbbells on the incline bench, and he's going
With the cutoff T-shirt, but it goes down to his oblique.
And
bum equipment.
But he'd be like, I can
with the
Big
holes.
Gymshark guy.
I can bench more than you. I'm like, of course you can, Andy. Your arms are half as long. You don't have to go up as high.
That's TJ now. He wears all that crap.
Speaking of which, how was Will Campbell's 225? How many times did he put that up?
It should have been about 400,
right?
Because he doesn't have to go very far.
That's what I'm saying.
That was Andy's advantage.
Armand Membu put up 31.
That's strong.
With 33 and a half
Strong man.
inch arms. I mean,
Strong
that's tough to do. Yeah. That's a beast right there.
Yeah. Anyway, I used to love making fun of Andy.
So I found out that my nephew, who played he played some college football, and he was a tackle, and he had 34.5-inch arms. So I told my brother yesterday, I go, so just let him know. He's now considered an underachiever in my mind. He should be in the league.
100%. Everybody's short-arm tackles these days. All these guys came in around 33 inches.
In 2004, there was the short-arm infant epidemic, and that affected a lot of people.
Apparently.
And you might be right, Fred, because
is that from the aughts?
Yeah, from the aughts.
Kelvin Banks,
it was an epidemic.
Armand Membu, Josh Simmons, Will Campbell. Ozzie Trapilo has 33-inch arms at 6'8", which is just doesn't that kind of defies logic.
How does he get his hands in his pockets?
Just have them raised.
That's why they love you, Fred. Those are the lines right there. That's why they love you.
Well, that's really sad.
I have nothing. There's
nothing better than when Evan's being serious.
I
when you just derail him.
You have nothing, but maybe you have something with this one. Shane in Springfield writes in, did I hear Evan right that he thinks Austin Hooper might not come back because he's an AVP guy? Can the genius of PU please tell me the last 2 head coaches Hooper signed with prior to New England? I don't know the answer to that.
Was he in Tennessee with
AVP
Vrabel?
wasn't a head coach.
He was with Tennessee with Vrabel.
Yeah.
But that's also a West Coast offense with Arthur Smith and Matt
I was going to say
LaFleur
I would look more at the offensive coordinators than I would the head coach.
Yeah. I just think that he was specifically brought in.
Yeah, he said it. I mean,
I came here for Alex Van Pelt.
Right, and that's what I thought you were judging that by.
Yes.
And I'm not dismissing that they'll re-sign him.
Yeah.
I think it did work well last year with Hunter Henry, and I think he clearly.
One position room it seemed like we didn't have an issue with.
Probably the best.
He's a
position
vet
room
that's
on the team.
played with really great quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
He was a great compliment to Hunter, and he likes it here. Importantly,
and it works
he
with
is a fan
May.
of being here. So
have you talked to him about that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He very
So
much
there's
enjoys
another
New
one.
England.
There's another.
He's like a history buff.
Another
he
box checked.
appreciates everything it has to offer in terms of lifestyle.
So Austin Hooper greater than
just a
DK
good vet.
Metcalf.
There you go.
He likes it here.
I like Austin Hooper too, and the vet part is important. I thought both him and Hunter Henry were really big with Drake May. They kind of took him under
They
their
had experience
wings.
with good quarterbacks.
They
Exactly. They hung out with
Hunter
him.
Henry especially kind of turned into Drake May's big brother on the team, and I think that.
So to the point where they actually did a press conference together, which is really uncomfortable. But they did it.
I thought it was great.
It was weird.
Our listener on listener crime email of the week comes from Josh in Atlanta.
Here for it. Nice.
He says, "Oh boy, another episode where Christian from LA brings up tax brackets in the Palisades. Here's an idea, Christian. Write down what you want to say before calling in. I know writing can be scary, but I have faith in you. Maybe do a few practice runs first." Wow.
Jeez.
Wow.
That's rude.
Wow, that's harsh. That's harsh.
Roasted.
I might start a new subsection of the newsletter for just the listeners to attack each other.
Oh, jeez.
There used to be a lot more of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeremiah writes in, you guys are going to have to help me with this one. I think Shamar Stewart and Mikael Williams are the only ones I would really consider at 4 if we stick and pick.
Yeah.
I would rather take a shot on upside and have faith in the coaching staff to get the most out of their athleticism.
Yeah, Shamar Stewart blew up the combine, but fact, he had 4.5 career sacks at Texas A&M over 3 seasons. He had 1.5 sacks last year at Texas A&M. So you're doing a lot of projecting that you are going to get a much more productive player if you're going to take him at 4 overall. But he was the best tester at the entire combine, 1-1 at the entire combine. But
I love the kid too. I just liked his presence at the podium. Just seemed like the kind of leader that you'd want to pick. But that's why I lean a little bit towards Williams. He's
a little more productive.
Productive, but it's also a ceiling that you can't quite see yet. I feel like with
so
him.
where was he sort of projected?
Top 15-ish.
Yeah. He was. So he didn't vault up with this.
He's not a Mamula.
No,
because that's the first thing I thought of is maybe he's the answer to your question from Tuesday.
I think going in, Evan actually said it before the combine. He's going to be a guy who blows.
Yeah,
it up.
well, he was
already considered a first-round pick.
Yeah, he was already considered a top half of the first-round guy because he's disruptive. He just isn't a sack guy.
So do you think that kind of performance helps him?
100%.
Yeah, you do.
Especially in a draft like this where there's not a lot of consensus at the top. If he's Abdul Carter is obviously going to be the first edge guy taken, but if he's the second edge guy taken, I don't think it would blow anybody away at this point.
Okay.
Those two
I'll
guys,
have to look at him.
Yeah, 2 of my favorites. I mean, Stewart's fun to watch. He just plays with his hair on fire. I mean, he's unrefined, and it's a little bit bull in a china shop. He's just going crazy, and I'm sure you got to get him to play a little bit more disciplined. But he's got every tool in the box, and seems like a good guy too. So
yeah, there's a lot to like. You know how I always tell you there's random guys that stick out. I think he might be one of the guys.
So he's 267 pounds, and he ran a 4.5 in the 40-yard dash at 267 pounds.
Moving.
Yeah. And he jumped over 40 inches, and I was going to say feet, 40 inches in the vertical as well. I think he was like 41 or 40 and a half in the vertical.
Hand size?
Big. Just big.
Big. A bunch of
arm
bananas.
length.
Big. He's like an illegitimate superhero. Like someone like gave him like the Captain America
3-cone, killed
printed
it.
him out. He wasn't super agile, so he is a little bit more of a stiffer.
Okay.
I don't know what's making me laugh more here, Fred asking these questions or the fact that Evan truly knows the answer to it.
No, that's great. This is Evan. This is his superpower.
That's what they pay me for.
Chris with a TIAN. Great
They don't
week.
pay you to know the 3-cone of some rando in the middle of the first round.
Christian writes in, great week of coverage last week. Thank you, Deuce and Evan, for their work at the Combine.
Thank you.
I'm old enough to remember when Paul and Andy were the ones doing that, and Andy would come back with a story of some stomach bathroom issue that required him to dispose of his
none of that happened in Indy.
Absolutely none of it.
Zero.
Playing the role of Andy Harden this week's episode will be Mike Dussault, who had prime rib on Monday.
Raw prime rib, not good. Not good. Don't eat a raw prime rib.
I know you touched upon this last week, but was there any other person on the planet happier than Barth? Did he sleep at all? Was he literally on every show and YouTube channel? It was exhausting. I'm tired. Well done, Barth.
No, he did a great job. I mean, I defer to Evan because they're like soulmates, but I don't know if he was happy or not. Like he was just so
he was happy.
overwhelmed, and I got to do this, and where are you guys going? You're going over there now? Okay, can I come? Like, it was just everything was so frenetic, and I got to go on the radio at 10:30, then I'm back on the radio at 7:30. They're like, Barth, calm down, bro. Like, Evan, I think you said at one point, you're at about a 10,
yeah.
and he's at about a 5. This is like day one.
Yeah.
Evan's telling Barth to just calm down.
Yeah, he, all true. All accurate depictions. But he got to try his first St. Elmo's cocktail sauce experience on Thursday night, and he's been making fun of me this whole time for last year when we ate shrimp on the air, and I kind of like half-assed it a little bit, and he just pops the whole thing in his mouth, and I just see like all of a sudden, and he's like trying to be like tough about it, and he's like, yeah, "It's fine, it's fine."
It's not hot.
Just
it's
like
not that hot.
He's
like, he's crying.
You feel every sinus in your head, like you just feel like all of a sudden.
It is
you're
awesome.
Feeling everything.
It does feel good.
He was in his element. There's no doubt about that.
Rich says Vrabel drafted Hooper, and Josh McDaniels was with him with the Raiders. So there you go.
Okay.
And Thomas wants for Matt to play the "Okay, Here We Go" song more often. He loves that. You got that, Matt?
Oh yeah. It's my song.
No? Oh, okay.
Save it for next show.
I caught him on the marine.com website.
What is that website?
Anyway.
I can't spell. That's my problem.
Oh.
Austin Hooper was drafted by the Falcons. I thought that was correct.
He was a 28-3
He
guy.
played in Tennessee with Vrabel, though.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. I like the player. I mean, there's enough connections that I just think it's a question of, do you want to tap this class this year, go a little bit young? You've extended Hunter Henry, but it seems like every year they like to have a couple guys, two guys that...
Sure.
That
Tom in Vernon, New Jersey also says, I love the idea of trading for DK. Any scenario where we can trade for him and keep the 4th overall pick. Not according to Seattle, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you could give them a future first-round pick.
Yeah. Any added value for adding in Bourne? I think Bourne is not the talent or mentor we hoped he would be for the team, and would only hurt the team if he remains. And I think the Patriots need a real veteran mentor, professional presence in the wide receiver room. Am I crazy?
No, but that's not necessarily DK.
No.
But I think that the trade that they reportedly agreed to last year for Brandon Ayuk was a 2nd, a 4th, and Kendrick Bourne for Brandon Ayuk. So I wouldn't be surprised if a DK package looked somewhat similar, and the Seahawks just cut Tyler Lockett, and now they're trading DK Metcalf, so they're going to need some receivers. So maybe you can throw him one of ours.
Patty's in Agawam on the hotline. What's up, Patty?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Good.
I apologize if you guys covered this today. I wasn't able to listen earlier, but some of the buzz coming out of the Combine was about Jamie and Sherwood and how they're kind of looking for that style of player at linebacker. Do you think they're given any consideration of moving Marte Mapu to a linebacker, or do you think he might be one of the guys that Vrabel just says you're gone? And I'll take it off here, guys.
Okay, thanks, Patty.
Yeah, that was the one name of all the reports that I wasn't really on my radar. I kind of look at him a little bit like Christian Ellis that they just kind of resigned. I mean, I think he's better than Christian Ellis probably, but I'm not really getting excited about that or thinking that that's like a big piece of their strategy.
What about Greenwood?
Oh, Greenlaw?
Greenlaw.
That's my guy.
San Francisco.
Yeah, I'd love to get him. I think he'd be great next to.
But Jamie and
Bentley.
Sherwood seems like that guy, that they had like 10 of in 01 that we keep talking about. Those guys that you don't really know, that just they're NFL players. They're going to come in and they're going to, the group of them is going to upgrade your overall level, but individually, none of them is going to necessarily tip the scales. Yeah. He sounds like one of those guys, and everybody had him in their,
write-ups.
Tidbits on the combine, things we're hearing. Everybody had that name.
He's got the right temperament, it feels like, for what they're seemingly looking for. So I think it's a position they have to address. They got to sprinkle some free agents into this defense and really start to rebuild it. I mean, to be honest, that's where they're headed.
Mark's in Connecticut. Hey, Mark.
Hey, everybody. I kind of had a dream scenario, but I think it's very possible to do because of the amount of draft capital and money that we have to spend. What I would do is I would actually take both DK Metcalf and Brandon Ayuk. I would trade for both of these guys because, again, you have the draft capital to do it and the money. And then I would sign Ronnie Stanley, if you can, or Cam Robinson. That addresses your left tackle. There's the kid from BC. That's a really good right tackle that you can draft in the draft. And then at the number 4 pick, you can either pick Tyler Warren or Ashan Genti. And I really think that just boosts your whole team. But I know it's a kind of dream scenario, but I really think it's possible.
Okay, so I agree. It's you could definitely do all that, but you said they have the draft capital to make those 2 trades. So I just want to hear some proposals. How do you get DK Metcalf and Brandon Ayuk with the draft capital that you're talking about?
You'd have to do this year and next year, but you'll have 2 and 3 for this year, and then you should have another 2 and 3 for next year that you can do for the players. 3 to 1.
We're not trading first-round picks, and we're getting 2 elite wide receivers.
What's that, Paul?
We're not trading any of the first-round picks, but we're going to get 2 elite wide receivers.
Yeah, because you can do it with a 2 and a 3.
Who says?
Mark in Connecticut says.
Well, Seattle doesn't.
I know.
And I'm going to guess San Francisco doesn't either.
Yeah.
I don't know what San Francisco's asking, but
yeah, I don't think I'm not interested in Ayuk right now. He's not going to be ready for training camp, right?
It was a 2
I don't
and a 4,
dismiss
right?
the proposals. I mean, those are big home run swings. We're going to try to get 2 really good receivers and a really good left tackle. I don't dismiss it, but it's going to cost you. Right. And I think it's going to cost more than people
You're
think.
Basically giving up the top half of your draft.
Yeah, I think you're going to have
Maybe
to give
this
up
year
more
and
than you
next
think.
year.
That's all.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not dismissing it.
Yeah, but you
those
gotta
are the
do
outside the box thinking that I think they need to be contemplating.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Did you guys hear, I don't know who had the report, but get ready for a blockbuster trade with the Patriots?
Jordan Schultz, your guy.
Oh, he said that?
The Starbucks boy.
Can I get? We have 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Can I give you?
Can I just sit back and
Can I give you another one?
All
So
right.
I had the whole wide receiver thing that Evan got mad at me about with the not a fit in the offense.
Yeah, I did get that.
Okay, so here's another one. Okay. The Patriots are the front runner for free agent X.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who it is. Can I just ask how that can be? Unless someone says, I want to sign with the Patriots.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's just use Ronnie Stanley as an example. Patriots are a front runner for Ronnie Stanley. And I've seen this many times over the last 5 or 6 days since the combine aftermath has been written up. Does the people that are writing that check in with the other 30 teams? I'm eliminating Baltimore. The other 30 teams to see if they're interested in Stanley? Or have they checked in with Stanley's representatives to find out if Stanley's interested in the Patriots? Or are they simply saying the Patriots have a lot of interest in Ronnie Stanley, which I believe. So it just drives me crazy that the Patriots have been deemed frontrunners for basically every Tom, Dick, and Harry that Mike, Evan, and Paul have targeted as guys that we would like. Like Ronnie Stanley, T. Higgins, Cam Robinson, in case we can't get those guys. Like, oh, Milton Williams, front runner. They're a front runner for every key free agent that's out there. I don't know how you know that. How do you know that one team is a front runner unless that team, that player has indicated that's where he wants to go?
Let's go Patriots.
Yeah, right. Well, it's a great question, Paul. And I was about to, before you went on that, I was about to ask you, do we feel like everybody's ready when Ronnie Stanley goes somewhere else? Because it feels like all the eggs are in that basket right now.
Have another part to this one.
Uh-oh.
A lot of these little this is my free agent plan, again, which all involves all the players that...
Right. Sign everybody.
That
That's
my
my plan.
wife could give you the names at this point, Yeah, but absolutely. Have they gotten DK Metcalf yet? Like, literally names that Beth could give you, okay?
Beth's got knows ball.
She does.
Yeah. She knows Paul.
She signed Ronnie Stanley to a 2-year contract, for maybe 2 years, $40 million. Okay. So, and I get the idea. You want to maybe you give him good money, short term. He's an older guy. Why is he signing? What's in it for him?
Yeah.
Why is he signing a 2-year deal where he's limited? This is probably going to be his last big contract.
Let Wolf cook.
Right? Yeah. This is probably Ronnie Stanley's last big contract. I think he's probably looking for more than 2 years so the number can be bigger and it can be spread out for the team. But everybody's just going to sign like 1 and 2 year deals with the Patriots. And if they really want 3, we'll give them 3. Yeah. Everybody's going to fall all over themselves to sign with the Patriots.
Well, the Chiefs are going to make a push for him, right? That's what I felt like with the guard
Evans
stuff.
Pushed back with me on that makes sense.
The Chiefs give him 3 years, and with
I don't know why they would have let Orlando Brown go in the first place if that's what they wanted to do. But you guys tell me it's not because they're cheap. It's because of the positions that they're in.
But everybody's got a budget.
They had that guy in his prime at left tackle and said, yeah, see ya. It's going to be their undoing.
Maybe it's
going to be their undoing. You watch.
Make up for that mistake. Jason in Erlen writes in, enjoying the show with all the recent short arm talk. Robert Gallery, 6'7", with 32.25-inch arms. No wonder he failed. How come he was so lauded? Was the short arms theory not in vogue back then? Tyron Smith, 6'5", with 36 3/8-inch arms and 31 bench reps. Beast. Wow. Stats from Wikipedia. Don't know where else to find this information. Listen, when Tyron Smith was right, when he was healthy, there was nobody better in the game.
He's still good.
I used to watch him play. Like, rarely do you just focus on the... He would just lock the guy up, and it was just over. Right. It was over. I loved watching him.
He was
one of my favorite players.
When you do prototypes at each position of what's the prototypical receiver, quarterback, tackle, Tyron Smith is the prototypical tackle.
Yeah.
Did you say how long were those arms? Did he say
athleticism,
36 and 3/8 or something?
Length, technique. He is print him out of a 3D.
And he wore those big elbow things. Like he looked like a machine.
Yeah.
He wasn't fat. He was just for a guy his size, he was right there.
He was one of the first guys, I would say, that wasn't one of these. I don't use the word fat, but he's trimmed. He's an athlete. He is not a hog molly. He's a true athlete. He's first ballot Hall of Famer in my mind.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Dominant at his position in his era. Anthony from Cape Coral, Florida, first time emailing. And the reason is to bring up my least favorite caller, Brad from Michigan. Look, I get it. We should draft every player from Michigan. That will really help us rebuild. Every time he calls and asks if we should draft all the Michigan guys, I want to turn off the stream. Maybe we should get a ban list for annoying callers.
Oh, caller on caller crime.
Yeah, but then if we ban them, then we don't have.
We need all of our listeners, not just 1 or 2 of them.
I know.
Yeah,
we welcome everyone.
And we gotta get going on the Who's That Caller game. The blind test of who's
who.
Who's that caller?
We're gonna ask for some photos.
We need people to bring in, send in their photos.
Yeah, maybe we do a call to action at some point in the newsletter for that, and say send in a photo of yourself with your name.
I'll do it today.
More
How soon do we want to do it?
Yeah. Maybe they just send it to the newsletter, and that way we don't get any chances to see them.
No.
Oh, good call.
Right? If they send them to Alex, then we don't get a chance to see them.
Yeah.
Good one.
James Pettigrew, the most interesting Patriots fan in the world, wants to know if we ever measured Andy's arm length.
Yeah, that's a great question. His head length.
It's not too late.
His head width and.
I don't know. Do we have a ruler? because that's all we need.
Yardstick.
I did see on Twitter someone's like calling out Andy, "You're getting killed on PU today," but the truth is never mean.
Well, listen, we had the push-up contest, and he did twice as many, but he went half as far.
Right.
I'm telling you,
It's faster too.
he didn't even even with the short arms, he didn't even get to full length. So like it was just, he was cheating.
Is that like when you beat him in 3 sports?
I did. You know that's true. He even admits it.
Well, I saw you beat him in tennis.
I beat him in tennis. I beat him in one-on-one basketball, and I beat him at horse.
Yeah.
What else is there?
I think
What's
horse
left to
and
do?
one-on-one basketball, same sport.
Well,
No.
Less running.
Horse, you're just taking shots.
Yeah, but it's
It's about
basketball.
shot accuracy.
Yeah,
You're
but
taking
you're not
basketball
defending.
shots.
So I beat him in 3 endeavors.
The
Sporting
tennis,
endeavors.
the tennis thing, I was on hand
decathlon.
for. I did a little announcing
No,
of
but
that match.
that was the one here. This is when we were in San Diego. We were staying at Torrey Pines. And
Yeah, I was there.
Damn.
you weren't there that day.
Trips
That-
have changed.
that was
Yeah, come on.
That was the day you guys deemed me drunk because She Blinded Me with Science was
that
on
night-
in the bar, and I said,
No,
"Science!"
No, you were there on the trip, but you weren't outside with us. You weren't outside. You were there on the trip for sure. No, I had to
You
walk
guys
Paul
deemed
back
me
to his
drunk.
room. I was really afraid that someone was going to
Yes,
take advantage
that
of
was what it was. Fred made, I was leaving for the night, going back, and Fred made Andy go with me because he thought I was going to get lost because I was drunk.
We've been there with
You
a
had
few
a
people.
few.
Yeah.
So did everybody else.
I know, but like we're at the
nothing that
bar
bothers
and-
me more
and
than
we're-
getting deemed drunk.
And they're playing music, and that blinded me with Science, and Paul just blurts out Science. I'm like, okay, here we go.
Wrap it up. Check it, please.
Fred's like,
oh, I love that version of Paul, though. I've only seen that a couple times when we used to, travel together. But
I'm
it's
a fun guy.
It's fun. Tennessee.
He's a
we
cool
lit it
hang.
up. Yeah.
What?
It's a cool
What
hang.
did he say?
It's a cool hang.
He's a cool hang.
It's a cool hang,
Especially
Yeah.
like in Tennessee when he got
Oh,
spotted
Listen,
by
if
some
you
fans.
if you're out and about, Paul and No Socks, you want to be with them.
No Socks
Yeah.
is a legend.
He knows
fun.
the best bar everywhere.
Yeah,
the only thing that
he likes to have fun.
No
And
Socks
he
and I
gets
differ.
after it, man.
He loves live music.
Loves it.
And if it happens to be outdoors, that's
Ah.
even better.
Loves.
I'm sort of, I don't mind the outdoor part. I love, like, there's nothing to me like the summer getting dinner on an outside deck, like on the water,
Little
preferably.
al fresco.
Yeah, that to me, that's good living right there.
I realize.
I don't
now-
need the live music.
Yeah, I
That
realize.
just distracts me. I
realize
need to sing
now-
She Blinded Me with Science myself.
I think one of the first times I just started when we went to Tennessee, but then I got up and did karaoke in front of Matt, and now I realize that must have been really. He's a music guy. This guy's up there singing like live music.
So that
Let's
was
go.
the perfect.
I
So
think
we're,
that's
in
what he
Nash-
meant.
so we're in Nashville, right? And obviously,
Yeah.
that's Matt's haven. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
live music and
It's like,
every-
where are you guys?
Yeah.
every
Yeah,
dive
everywhere
bar.
you guys.
So we're trying to go in and we're trying to get places. Mike and I are waiting like
Oh,
literally a
lines
half
out
hour
there.
to get a beer, like one beer at the bar. It's packed. So we're like, the one good thing is you're able to walk around with the beer
Yeah.
in Nashville. So we get a beer and we like go back outside because it was like really hot, and then we just happen to like stumble in a place right next door, and it's like the same exact layout, bar, all kinds of. Only it's not a live bar place. It's a karaoke place. There's music playing. There's not really a lot of people doing the karaoke at the time. So Mike and I are like, I don't know about you, but this place is fine with me. Mike,
Easy
you good with
drink?
this, Mike?
Yeah.
Yep. So Mike and I sat, we set down the hooks. We pitched the tent, and we're in for the
Put
night.
sticks down.
And what did you sing?
Yeah.
We'll get to that
Okay.
later.
Coming.
So here comes No Socks. Disgusted. Disgusted with us.
All this music.
Like, we're in Nashville. There's a live band there. There's a live band there. And I was like, Matt,
I just want a beer.
I just want to drink. I just want to have some fun. I just, I can, it was crowded but not packed, right? It's not like we were the only people here. It was crowded but not packed. And we go over, and I know the way to Uncle Matt's heart. I get him a couple of Coronas right away, and I get him. Now he's in. I got him double fisted. He's in for a while.
This one's got a hole in it.
Correct. I've been here before.
That's the line.
I've been here before. This one has a hole in it. Right? So now all of a sudden, like fast forward like an hour, and all of a sudden it's like your best friend Harry had a brother Larry. Deuce is up doing.
Please welcome to the main stage, Deuce. There were some middle-aged women in the middle that were really.
The woman that sang
really
"Killing Me Softly," the Fugees version.
Yeah, she was good.
And me and you went back 2 times.
2 times. Yeah, that was great. It was a great start. It was a great start.
Fun times.
He is the best.
He's
road
the best
trip
to go out
person I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. He's fun 100% of the time.
Yeah, he texted us one night at the combine, and he says, "Don't know what you guys are doing, but at around 9 o'clock, I will be at this establishment, this local."
I was going to say he's reading the text as if it was being it was said.
This local dive bar that has live music and
Tin Roof.
Maybe it might have been the Tin Roof.
Rusted.
Maybe I'll see you there. And sure enough, we show up, and who's right at the bar with
9
6
bells?
beers?
9 bells?
Oh, yeah, listen to the live music. Maddie Smith right there. And perfect. Perfect.
Jake writes in, can we get a story time where Andy alluded on his show to having a member of the Unfiltered crew wanting to fight him a few years ago? I don't know about that. A member of our show wanting to fight him?
That might have been me.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it might have been him.
Oh, did you want to fight Andy?
No, I don't want to fight Andy.
A lot of people wanted to fight Andy.
You might want to rethink that.
No.
That must be who they're talking
there
about.
Was some times.
Evan.
There's some times.
You wanted to fight him?
That's okay. We're over it now.
Haven't a lot of people?
You don't want that smoke.
No, I'm okay with the smoke, but we're over it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to find out about this.
Yeah. Do tell.
At least I'm over it.
I can take your face and rub it in the mud.
Gonna need more context for that.
All right. Well, listen, that's going to be it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered. The newsletter comes out tomorrow. If you want to subscribe, it's not too late. Go to patriots.com/PU newsletter. That you can get the amazing newsletter that Alex is the editor of. And we've got some good questions about Deuce in this one coming up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked Fred's answer. I love the fact that Fred feels the need to reply to all.
I don't read it. I try not to read any of it. I like it to be.
Don't tell anybody. Don't spoil it for anyone.
I didn't say what the answer was, but you replied to all. So obviously you didn't care if anybody read it.
Well, usually I like to keep it secret, especially when we're doing picks, because I don't want.
The next time reply to just Alex, and it's a secret.
All right. We will see you next Tuesday.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original podcast.